Chapter 88. Hulina chose to ignore Lu Yuan's ferocious gaze. Instead, she exerted even more force. Lu Yuan was in so much pain that he couldn't argue with Hulina in public. An ugly smile appeared on his face as he said, "Grandpa Golden Crocodile, I think it's better for me to share a room with senior sister. It's rather inconvenient for a man and a woman to share a room." The Golden Crocodile frowned. He didn't expect Hulina to be so bold as to oppose his decision. However, this also showed that she had ulterior motives towards Lu Yuan. For Xiao Shui's happiness, the Golden Crocodile couldn't compromise so easily. What's so inconvenient about it? Junior brother is still young. Furthermore, we also sleep like this at home. I don't see any inconvenience. You're too worried, revered Golden Crocodile. Hulina smiled sweetly. She didn't seem to be at a disadvantage at all. Lu Yuan stared at Hulina with his eyes wide open. It was as if he was seeing her for the first time. She actually dared to oppose the Golden Crocodile. Where did she get her guts from? The Golden Crocodile was already a rank 98 pinnacle Douluo, while Hulina was only rank 38. The difference between them was like heaven and earth. The attendant at the side was stunned when he heard their conversation. He looked at Hulina, who was speaking with assurance. This girl was a little impressive. She wanted to sleep in the same room as this young man in front of his elders. She was really not afraid. After hearing Hulina's words, the Golden Crocodile was speechless. After all, Hulina had slept in the same room as Lu Yuan in Martial Spirit City. Furthermore, Hulina was right. Lu Yuan was indeed young. He was only 9 years old. In this round, Hulina had the upper hand. "Attendant, give me the key." Hulina smiled. After receiving the key from the attendant, Hulina pulled Lu Yuan upstairs. 520. This was her and Lu Yuan's room. It was an easy number to misunderstand. The room was very big and the decor was very exquisite. It was rather good. The walls of the room were white and the ceiling was sky blue. There was a feeling of comfort and contentment in the room. After entering the room and closing the door, Hulina placed her hand on her chest. She didn't feel this way when she was sparring with the Golden Crocodile earlier. But now she was afraid. She actually dared to bicker with a rank 98 pinnacle Douluo. "Hulina, how dare you? Hwas to me's to you, to me to you, she's two's to me. Two's to me." Lu Yuan took the initiative to hold Hulina's hand. Hulina was first shocked when Lu Yuan held her hand. Then, she was elated. Could it be that this silly junior brother of mine has been enlightened? I'm so excited that I've forgotten about what happened earlier. She looked at Lu Yuan expectantly. "Thank you, senior sister." Lu Yuan looked straight into Hulina's eyes and said sincerely. "What?" Hulina was stunned. "I'm so excited, but you're thanking me?" Hulina looked straight at Lu Yuan, as if she were looking at a fool. "Senior sister?" Lu Yuan waved his hand in front of Hulina's eyes. What's wrong with her? Why is she looking at him without moving? Hulina slapped Lu Yuan's hand away. Is this fool really stupid, or is he just pretending to be stupid? Lu Yuan is certainly not stupid. He also knows what Hulina wants. Originally, before he chased Chihiro Snow, he really didn't have the mood to accept other people's feelings. Even if Hulina confessed to him and even kissed him forcefully, he still has the heart to resist. However, today, Hulina's feelings for him also moved his heart. Today, during the argument between Hulina and the Golden Crocodile, Hulina's true feelings interrupted a trace of hesitation in his heart. His heart was moved, and he suddenly had a crazy idea. Maybe it's not impossible to try to accept Hulina. Isn't it just being a scumbag? So be it. Holding Hulina's lily-white hand, Lu Yuan gently pulled, and Hulina's delicate body sank into his embrace. His arms wrapped around Hulina's waist, Lu Yuan tightly hugged her in his arms. Being hugged by Lu Yuan, Hulina's heart trembled, and her red lips couldn't help but open. "Junior brother. Don't say anything, let me hug you." Lightly smelling Hulina's fragrance, Lu Yuan said softly. And Hulina softly replied, her voice trembling. This was the first time Lu Yuan took the initiative to hug her. She knew that there was always someone in Lu Yuan's heart, and that it had almost become an obsession. In fact, what she didn't tell Lu Yuan was that during the year when Lu Yuan went to the plum garden, she had secretly followed him out of curiosity. Although she didn't dare to get close for fear of being discovered by the two, so she couldn't hear what the two were talking about, seeing Lu Yuan and Chihiro Snow talking and laughing, and their actions were quite intimate, she felt very uncomfortable in her heart. It was also from then on that she gradually realized that she didn't just treat her junior brother as a younger brother, spending day and night together. Unknowingly, she had actually fallen deeply in love with her junior brother. However, because she knew what her junior brother was thinking, she didn't know how to say it until a few days ago, when she couldn't hold it in anymore. "Senior sister," Lu Yuan softly said. "And?" Hulina softly replied, "What's wrong? I want to be a scumbag," Lu Yuan softly said. "What?" Hulina was a little shocked. What did her junior brother just say? "Nothing, senior sister. Can you give me some time?" Lu Yuan said. Although he had already made a decision in his heart, Lu Yuan still needed some time to adapt. Moreover, he had to tell Chihiro Snow about Hulina's matter. Dating Chihiro Snow and Hulina at the same time was still very difficult. Hulina was still okay, and Lu Yuan was still confident, but Chihiro Snow was very difficult. With Chihiro Snow's arrogance, wanting her to share a man with others, Lu Yuan felt a little numb just thinking about it. It wasn't so easy to be a scumbag, and it wasn't so easy to have a foot in two boat. Moreover, he did need some time to completely change his feelings for Hulina from familial love to love, and this process was destined to take a lot of time. "Okay," Hulina softly replied, tears falling from her eyes. Although her junior brother didn't accept her now, the relationship between her and her junior brother had obviously made a great breakthrough, hadn't it? Moreover, there was still a long way to go. She was only 14 and her junior brother was only 9 years old. They had plenty of time. As if feeling the trembling heart of the person in his arms, Lu Yuan hugged her even tighter. In fact, Lu Yuan had always been an emotional person. Usually, he looked very cold and mature, and seemed to be very rational, but when the softness in his heart was touched, he would be gentler than anyone else. And Hulina's seemingly bold behavior today happened to inadvertently poke the softness in Lu Yuan's heart. Looking back, it turned out that Hulina's feelings for him were already so deep. Therefore, he didn't mind giving himself some time, and also giving Hulina some time. If they could still come together in the end, and Hulina still loved him as before, then even if he was chased around the world by Chihiro Snow with the angel sword, he would accept it. Chapter 89. Lu Yuan was very glad that he was reborn in the Douluo continent. This place still supported polygamy. As long as he had enough strength, he might be able to take both Chihiro Snow and Hulina. Of course, the premise was that he had to defeat Chihiro Snow first. Otherwise no way. Moreover, there was also Hulina in front of him. She was not easy to talk to. Although she was deeply in love with Lu Yuan, she also had the intention of monopolizing him. It would also be difficult for Hulina to accept Chihiro Snow. After all, Hulina was also a proud daughter of heaven and had her own pride. There was also Bibidon, this big boss. Lu Yuan was really a little afraid. If he took both Chihiro Snow and Hulina at the same time, would Bibidon chop him up and scatter his ashes? Thinking of Bibidon's daily methods, it was really possible that she would do such a thing. Thinking about it, Lu Yuan was really a little creeped out. Sigh, it's not easy to be a scumbag. The two hugged for a moment, then Lu Yuan let go of Hulina. Looking at Hulina's tear-stained eyes, Lu Yuan raised his hand and wiped them away. "Let's go down and eat, senior sister." And Hulina nodded, appearing abnormally obedient. Holding Hulina's hand, the two walked down side by side. Golden Crocodile had already ordered the dishes, and the place was quiet. It was a private room. Seeing the two walking down side by side, and then seeing their hands together, a trace of haze flashed past his eyes. This little vixen only knows how to seduce Obuchi. No, this old man has to think of a way. Grandpa Golden Crocodile, you must have waited for a long time, Lu Yuan said with a smile. Then, he pulled Hulina to sit beside him. He deliberately made Hulina stay away from the Golden Crocodile. Although he didn't know why the Golden Crocodile was targeting Hulina, his spiritual sense was innately strong. He could feel that the Golden Crocodile had a faint malice towards Hulina, so he subconsciously pulled Hulina to his side. With him by his side, even if the Golden Crocodile really had any ideas, he probably wouldn't act recklessly. In that instant, he was even feeling a little remorseful for bringing the Golden Crocodile along. If the chrysanthemum Douluo had accompanied them, the atmosphere would have been a lot better, even though it would have been a little unbearable to look at. Hulina also seemed to feel Lu Yuan's care for her. Her heart was moved as if she had eaten honey. Is junior brother deliberately protecting me because he's afraid that the Golden Crocodile will hold a grudge because of the argument not long ago? Actually, Hulina was wrong. Lu Yuan didn't even consider that much. He only did this because he felt that something was wrong. The Golden Crocodile also seemed to feel Lu Yuan's wariness. He secretly blamed himself for being too obvious. This kid's perception is really strong. It seems like I can't continue like this. I have to take a roundabout route. The three of them sat down and began to enjoy dinner. The food outside naturally wasn't as exquisite as the food in the Martial Soul Palace. However, when one was hungry, the food was just as delicious. Junior brother, have a piece of meat. Hulina picked up a piece of meat and placed it in Lu Yuan's bowl. Lu Yuan didn't find it strange. He took it and ate it. After living together for almost 3 years, he was already used to this. However, this was the first time the Golden Crocodile had seen it. He immediately felt uncomfortable. His eyes rolled as a plan formed in his mind. Seemingly unintentionally, he suddenly said, "Obuchi, we're already at the border of Heaven Do, right?" "Yes." Lu Yuan didn't reply. He only nodded. The Golden Crocodile continued, "We'll be passing by Heaven Do Imperial City in 2 days at the latest. Little Snow is there. Do you want to go see him?" Hearing Chihiro Snow's name, Lu Yuan immediately put down his bowl and chopsticks, a trace of gentleness appearing in his eyes. Little Snow. The golden alligator Douluo immediately noticed her gentleness, and there was a smug look in his eyes as he looked at Hulina. Little Snow's charm is indeed greater. Little vixen, you have no hope. Seeing the Golden Crocodile's provocative gaze, Hulina's heart ached. However, she didn't know what to say. She lowered her head and picked up her chopsticks, poking at the food in her bowl. Little Snow? Thinking of that beautiful girl, Lu Yuan couldn't help but smile. He hadn't seen Little Snow in a year. He didn't know how that girl was doing. Was she doing well in the Heaven Do Empire? If he could, he really wanted to fly to Little Snow's side right now and accompany her forever. But after thinking about it carefully, Lu Yuan shook his head. "We're not going to Heaven Do Imperial City." The Golden Crocodile and Hulina were startled. However, while the Golden Crocodile was truly shocked, Hulina was pleasantly surprised. "Why, don't you want to see Little Snow?" the Golden Crocodile asked. When he mentioned Little Snow, the gentleness and yearning in Lu Yuan's eyes couldn't be faked. That was why the Golden Crocodile was a little puzzled. Hulina also looked at Lu Yuan curiously. She knew that even though Lu Yuan's relationship with her had progressed a little, in Lu Yuan's heart, the one he loved the most was still that girl called Chihiro Snow. No matter how unwilling Hulina was, she knew that in Lu Yuan's heart, her position was far inferior to Chihiro Snow's. "Yes, I really want to, but I can't," Lu Yuan softly said. "Why?" Hulina asked. "The big picture is more important." Little Snow's position isn't stable yet, so we can't make any mistakes. Furthermore, we're not just one person, but three. I've never left the Pontiff's palace, so no one knows who I am. But Senior Apprentice Sister and Grandpa Golden Crocodile's portraits aren't a secret to the upper echelons of the various powers. Lu Yuan's words weren't false. He had never left the Pontiff's palace. Most people had only heard of his name, but had never seen him in person. The only ones who knew what he looked like were the various Grand Elders, so his appearance hadn't been leaked out. Hulina was a famous member of the Martial Soul Palace. Not only was she famous in the Pontiff's palace, but she was also a goddess in the Martial Soul Academy. The Martial Soul Academy had crooks mixed in with the honest folk. Apart from the Martial Soul Palace's members, there were also spies from other powers. Thus, Hulina's information had been leaked long ago. As for the Golden Crocodile, as a rank 98 peak Douluo, he had left an indelible mark on the Douluo continent. Unless the people of the Heaven Do Empire grew up eating rice fields, there was no way the upper echelons of the empire wouldn't recognize the Golden Crocodile. Little Snow's current identity was the empire's crown prince, Xueqinghe. If others found out that he was in contact with the Martial Soul Palace, it would be very detrimental to the entire plan. It might even collapse. Thus, even if he wanted to see Chihiro Snow, now wasn't the time. As for changing his appearance? That was still risky. What if he was accidentally exposed? What should he do then? Thus, now wasn't the time. Furthermore, if he brought Hulina to see Chihiro Snow, it was inevitable that Chihiro Snow wouldn't think much of it. If he wanted to see Little Snow, he would have to go alone. Furthermore, that day shouldn't be too far away. Chapter 90. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, the Golden Crocodile nodded. He had thought too much. In order to separate Lu Yuan and Hulina, he had forgotten that Chihiro Snow's current condition could not withstand any accidents. But fortunately, this brat in front of him had thought it through. He had to admit that this brat not only had astonishing talent, but his brain was also very useful. The Golden Crocodile understood, but Hulina still did not understand. Why couldn't they meet? What kind of mission was Little Snow carrying out? Was it so secretive? Hulina raised her head and looked at Lu Yuan in confusion. Lu Yuan gently patted Hulina's head and said softly, "Senior sister, I know you have doubts, but don't ask. Even if you ask, I can't tell you now. You will naturally know in the future." Although she still had doubts in her heart, she was a girl who knew when to advance and when to retreat. Since Lu Yuan could not tell her, it meant that this mission was very important. Thus, even if she wanted to know, she could control her curiosity. "And let's eat." With a smile on his face, Lu Yuan picked up some food for Hulina. Hulina nodded and continued to eat. Soon after dinner, everyone returned to their own rooms. After rushing for a day, it was quite tiring. At this time, if they could take a hot bath, it would undoubtedly be very comfortable. Lu Yuan bathed very quickly. Like most boys after bathing, he leaned on the sofa and picked up a book, flipping through it in boredom. It was a habit since childhood that he liked to read books when he had nothing to do. Hulina bathed very slowly. After bathing for more than an hour, she came out of the bathroom. Hulina was wearing a bathrobe, her wet hair falling on her shoulders, looking particularly seductive. "Junior brother, what are you reading? Why are you so engrossed?" Hulina sat on the sofa and leaned against Lu Yuan's shoulder. She took the book from Lu Yuan's hands and read it briefly. Her face was filled with astonishment. Introduction to Self-Created Soul Skills. "Junior brother, do you want to create your own soul skill?" Hulina had a look of astonishment on her face. Every soul master who could create their own soul skills was a genius among geniuses. Even her brother had spent a lot of time and effort to create a self-created soul skill called Full Moon. Furthermore, it was still very crude. As for her junior brother, if she didn't remember wrongly, He seemed to have created his own soul skills. She had seen a set of spear techniques and a set of movement techniques, and they were both very powerful. Therefore, Hulina had always admired Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan's family background was mediocre, so those self-created soul skills couldn't have been passed down from his ancestors. Therefore, they could only have been created by Lu Yuan himself. To be able to create two such powerful soul skills at such a young age, junior brother was truly too amazing. Now, could it be that junior brother wanted to create a new self-created soul skill? Yes, yes. Lu Yuan nodded and said, I have such thoughts. Don't you already have a self-created soul skill? Why do you still want to create one? Hulina asked. Seeing the doubt on Hulina's face, Lu Yuan smiled slightly. He hooked Hulina's nose and said, As my strength grows, so does my strength. The original Phoenix dance of the 6 illusions emphasizes ethereal and nimble movements. It's somewhat inconsistent with my development direction, so I want to create a new movement technique. Phoenix dance of the 6 illusions, is that the name of your movement technique? Hulina asked. Lu Yuan nodded. Suddenly, he looked at Hulina and his eyes lit up. Junior brother, why are you looking at me like that? Is there something on my face? Hulina touched her face. No. Lu Yuan's gaze was gentle as he asked, Senior sister, do you want to learn my Phoenix dance of the 6 illusions? It can give you speed that's comparable to an agility-type soul master of the same rank. That's a self-created soul skill, and you're willing to teach it to me? Hulina looked at Lu Yuan with sparkling eyes. As long as senior sister wants it, as long as I have it, I'm willing to give it to senior sister. Lu Yuan smiled. The Phoenix dance of the 6 illusions was indeed rare, and it was even more exquisite than the ghost shadow perplexing track. However, Lu Yuan was not Tang San, who was limited by his family background. He did not even teach Xiao Wu the martial arts of the Tang sect. He was simply not worthy of being a disciple. To Lu Yuan, it might be a little painful for others to teach him, but if it was Hulina, he didn't mind teaching her. It could also increase Hulina's fighting strength. Junior brother. Hulina was excited. She hugged Lu Yuan, and her face was very close to Lu Yuan's. Junior brother, you're so good to me. As she spoke, she kissed Lu Yuan's lips. His mentality had changed. Ever since he decided to accept Hulina, he didn't resist this kiss as much as before. Instead, he enjoyed it. He sighed in his heart. I'm really a scumbag. Have you taught it to Chihiro Snow? Hulina thought, and the competitive mood in her heart unconsciously crept up. No, because there's no need. Xiao Shui can fly, Lu Yuan said. No matter how powerful the Phoenix dance of the 6 illusions was, it couldn't fly. For Chihiro Snow, who could fly, it wasn't very useful. Moreover, Xiao Shui and I have fought for almost a year. She has her own understanding of speed. My Phoenix dance of the 6 illusions might not be suitable for her. Since he could think of teaching it to Hulina, how could Lu Yuan not think of teaching Chihiro Snow? It was just that Chihiro Snow had already formed his own style. The Phoenix dance of the 6 illusions wasn't suitable for him, and Hulina was a control-type soul master. She wasn't good at speed. The Phoenix dance of the 6 illusions should be of great help to her. Oh! Although it wasn't the answer she wanted, Hulina was still very happy. This was because Lu Yuan only taught it to her. She didn't care whether the Phoenix dance of the 6 illusions was suitable for Chihiro Snow or not. As long as Chihiro Snow didn't learn it and she learned it, she was very happy. From this, it could be seen that Hulina still had a strong competitive heart. Then do you have any ideas about the new movement skill? Hulina asked. Not yet. It's not that easy to create a new movement skill that suits me. It will take a lot of time. It wasn't easy to create a movement skill that was suitable for him and wasn't inferior to the Phoenix dance of the 6 illusions. Otherwise, self-created soul skills would have been everywhere. Even with Lu Yuan's talent, It would take a very long time to conceive and prepare for this step. Oh! Hulina nodded. She also knew that self-created soul skills weren't that easy to create. Then let's rest. It's not early anymore. We still have to wake up early tomorrow, Hulina said. Lu Yuan nodded. Junior brother, don't meditate tonight. Lie down and sleep, Hulina said softly. Her charming face was dark red. Lu Yuan was startled. He looked straight at Hulina and said, Senior sister, we're still young. I know, I just want to hug you to sleep, Hulina muttered. Her charming face seemed to be on fire, but her beautiful eyes looked at Lu Yuan with anticipation. Okay, but senior sister, don't mess around. After hesitating for a long time, Lu Yuan nodded with difficulty. Chapter 91. As the sun rose from the east, Lu Yuan opened his eyes. In 3 years, this was the first time he laid down to sleep. The feeling of sleeping was really different from meditation, it was much more comfortable. But in order to cultivate faster, he still had to persist in meditation, otherwise he didn't know how long it would take to catch up with Chihiro Snow. Lu Yuan didn't want to be pressed down by Chihiro Snow. He wanted to stand in front of Chihiro Snow and shelter her from the wind and rain. Chihiro Snow's life was miserable, Bibidan's end was tragic, even Hulina's life was lonely and bitter. If he wanted to change their miserable fate, he needed strength, unparalleled strength. Looking down at Hulina, who was sleeping soundly on his chest, Lu Yuan's mouth revealed a trace of smile. The relationship between him and Hulina was really getting deeper and deeper. In his heart, he liked Hulina more and more. This was a good girl, worthy of being pampered. After I've settled Xiao Shui, we can be together openly. After all, Chihiro Snow was Lu Yuan's most beloved person, and the matter with Hulina still needed Chihiro Snow's approval. After all, even if the three of them were together, the main wife would definitely be Chihiro Snow. Asking for Chihiro Snow's opinion was not because Lu Yuan was afraid of her, but because of respect for Chihiro Snow, respect for the feelings between them. And before that, he wouldn't do anything that crossed the line. Thinking of last night when they slept together, Hulina's small movements, Lu Yuan couldn't help but smile. Sure enough, his senior sister still couldn't help but tease him. If he wasn't prepared and tried hard to restrain himself, last night he really couldn't help but take this seductress on the spot. Looking at Hulina's alluring red lips, Lu Yuan couldn't help but gently kiss them. Their lips separated, Hulina opened her beautiful eyes, looking straight at Lu Yuan. Being caught red-handed, Lu Yuan felt a little awkward as he scratched his head. The weather today is pretty good. Ha! Looking at Lu Yuan's awkward expression, Hulina giggled and said, The curtains are still drawn. How do you know that the weather outside is good? It was dawn now, and the sun had just come out. It wasn't very bright outside, so it was hard to tell if the weather outside was good through the curtains. Lu Yuan scratched his head. The atmosphere was a little awkward. Hulina giggled again, a smile flashing across her eyes. She lifted her head slightly, and her red lips pressed onto Lu Yuan's lip. Hulina giggled as she gazed at Lu Yuan's surprised expression, and her beautiful eyes were suffused with a wisp of gentleness as she said, Junior brother, do you know? That was the first time you took the initiative to kiss me. Senior sister is very happy. After working hard for so long, this idiot finally responded. Hulina was indescribably happy. Lu Yuan smiled, scratched Hulina's nose and said, Get up, we still have to hurry today. Hulina pouted her red lips and said coquettishly, I don't want to, unless you kiss me again. Lu Yuan was stunned, and then once again covered Hulina's red lips. With the first time, he was much more proficient in this second time. This time, it should be fine. Looking at Hulina's beautiful face, Lu Yuan smiled. Hulina tapped her chin and said, All right, I'll give you this face. Lu Yuan smiled helplessly, lifted the blanket, and began to put on his clothes. After putting on his clothes, Lu Yuan turned around, and Hulina was standing in front of him. Hulina had changed her clothes today. She was wearing a white short-sleeved shirt, and her proud figure stood upright, revealing 2 snow-white arms. She was wearing shorts, the type that was super short. Her snow-white thighs were exposed to the air, and they were extremely sexy. "You're wearing this?" Lu Yuan's face darkened. If she walked out like this, wouldn't she be seen by others? This is the Douluo continent, not the modern world. What are you trying to do by wearing such open clothes? It didn't matter in front of him, but now that we're outside, you still want to wear this? What's wrong, can't I? Hulina asked in a crisp voice, and a trace of craftiness flashed past her eyes. Of course not, how is this appropriate? Hurry up and change, Lu Yuan said. Hulina laughed and said, I know, stingy. After saying that, she made a face at Lu Yuan. I'm stingy? Lu Yuan was so angry that his nose was crooked. This Hulina always thought of ways to tease him, really. After dressing up and washing up, the 2 of them went downstairs to eat. After breakfast, the few of them continued on their journey. In the blink of an eye, more than half a month had passed. The horse carriage slowly drove on the streets of Nodding City. Looking at the familiar scene, Lu Yuan couldn't help but feel a little homesick. He hadn't been back for more than 3 years, and he wondered how the old man fellows was doing. Junior brother, is this Nodding City? Hulina asked as she looked at the narrow streets around her, which were further away from Martial Spirit City. Why, it's very shabby, right? Are you disappointed? Lu Yuan asked with a smile. Of course not, I think this place is very interesting, Hulina said quickly. Nodding City was Lu Yuan's hometown, so how could Hulina say anything bad about it? Moreover, Hulina didn't have any disappointed expression on her face. Instead, she was very interested in Nodding City, where Lu Yuan grew up. Looking at Hulina's anxious expression, Lu Yuan chuckled. The horse carriage continued on its journey. Junior brother, do we go directly to Nodding Academy, or do we stop at the local Martial Spirit Branch Hall and ask them for help? Hulina asked. Let's go directly to the academy. I'm very familiar with this place, so I don't need their help. Moreover, I want to keep a low profile this time, so it's best if my identity isn't exposed for the time being. Lu Yuan said. All right, we'll listen to you. Hulina nodded. Obuchi, how do we get to Nodding Academy? Golden Crocodile's voice came from outside. Just follow this road. Nodding Academy is in the center of Nodding City, so it's easy to find. Lu Yuan said. Golden Crocodile said. Soon, the horse carriage arrived outside Nodding Academy. Lu Yuan and Hulina alighted from the horse carriage. Lu Yuan said to Golden Crocodile, Grandpa Golden Crocodile, let's go in and take a look. No need, you go in by yourself. This old man will walk around outside. Golden Crocodile said. All right, senior sister, let's go. Lu Yuan said to Hulina. All right. Hulina held Lu Yuan's hand and followed Lu Yuan towards Nodding Academy. Stop, what are you doing? Lu Yuan was stopped by the guard at the entrance of Nodding Academy. Lu Yuan frowned and looked at the guard. Wang Wu, you don't even recognize me? You are? Looking at Lu Yuan in front of him, the guard felt that he looked familiar, as if he had seen him somewhere before. It was no wonder that the guard did not recognize him. Lu Yuan was only 6 years old when he left, and his height was no more than 1.2 to 1.3 meters. However, in just 3 short years, it was as if he had been injected with hormones. His height had skyrocketed to more than 1.6 meters, almost 1.7 meters. His entire person had undergone earth-shattering changes. It would be a miracle if the guard could recognize such a handsome young man. I am Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan said faintly. Master Yuan, it's you? Looking at Lu Yuan's face that still bore some resemblance, the guard Wang Wu finally remembered. He hurriedly said, You've changed so much in the 3 years you've been gone. This humble one is blind. Please forgive me, young Master Yuan. Chapter 92. It's fine. Lu Yuan waved his hand and said, Then can I go in now? Please come in. Wang Wu said respectfully, Do you need me to inform the dean? No need, I can go by myself. You just have to guard the door. Lu Yuan said lightly. All right, young Master Yuan, take care. Lu Yuan held Hulina's hand and walked side by side on the path of Nodding Academy. It was still class time, so there were not many students in Nodding Academy's campus. Junior brother, where are we going now? Hulina asked. Home. Home. Yes, the old man and I have a small courtyard in the academy. Let's go there first and wait for the old man to come back, Lu Yuan said. After returning to Nodding Academy, Lu Yuan felt an indescribable sense of relief in his heart. This was a feeling that could only be felt in Nodding Academy, because this was his home. This was the place where he grew up. With a smile on his face, Lu Yuan's footsteps seemed to have become lighter. Hulina, who was at the side, could clearly feel the change in Lu Yuan. It was the first time she saw Lu Yuan's relaxed smile that came from the bottom of his heart. She could not help but stare blankly for a moment. Junior brother, you're too handsome. Hulina seemed to have a little person shouting in her heart. While Lu Yuan was not paying attention, she quietly moved the small hand that was held in Lu Yuan's palm. With a backhand grip, their fingers interlocked. Lu Yuan tilted his head slightly and saw Hulina's beautiful face and a pair of sparkling beautiful eyes. Looking at Hulina's eyes that were overflowing with love, Lu Yuan could not help but use a little more strength and firmly held Hulina's lily-white hand. Junior brother, is this your and uncle's home? Hulina asked with a smile as she looked at the small but neatly decorated courtyard in front of her. Yes. Lu Yuan pulled Hulina into the small courtyard and looked at the familiar furnishings. Nothing seemed to have changed here. This is the place where I grew up. Look, that's the place where I train every morning. Lu Yuan pointed to a corner of the courtyard. The ground there was bumpy and there was a huge banyan tree with deep fist marks. Those were the marks that Lu Yuan made when he was training. Yes, that's great. Hulina smiled. Great? Lu Yuan was somewhat puzzled. Hulina took a deep breath and said, This place is filled with the traces you left behind. How nice. Lu Yuan's heart warmed when he heard Hulina's words that were filled with sincerity. The gaze he used to look at Hulina became even gentler. Senior sister, why are you so good at talking? You move me from time to time. Lu Yuan and Hulina were able to quickly warm up in less than a month, because of Hulina's method. It was easy for a woman to chase a man. Hulina did not hide her feelings at all. She was passionate, bold, and sincere. Instead, it made Lu Yuan's heart, which was originally only for one person, forcefully filled with another person. In the face of such a beautiful, unrestrained, sexy girl who truly loved you, how many men would be so heartless as to reject her? Unless he was a eunuch. Of course, Lu Yuan was not a eunuch. On the contrary, his ability was far more powerful than others. He was also a normal man. In the face of Hulina's offensive, although he tried his best to resist, in the end, he was unable to resist. Hulina and Chihiro Snow were completely different types. Hulina was passionate and unrestrained, Chihiro Snow was cold and shy. It was extremely difficult to get Chihiro Snow to say words of love. She would only hide them deep in her heart. Therefore, when she was with Chihiro Snow, it was always Lu Yuan who took the initiative. When he was with Hulina, it was Hulina who took the initiative. Hulina's initiative and passion were simply too much for Lu Yuan to bear. Unknowingly, he quietly fell for her. Senior sister. Lu Yuan gazed at Hulina with gentle eyes. Junior brother. Hulina also looked at Lu Yuan gently. The two people's figures slowly approached. Suddenly, a voice sounded. Ahem, who are you, whispering sweet nothings in this old man's courtyard? Which class are you from, do you know the rules? Startled by the voice, Hulina's pretty face turned red and immediately hid behind Lu Yuan. Speaking of which, Hulina was a very interesting girl. She was bold, but also shy. Sometimes she was bold and unrestrained, but sometimes she was very thin-skinned. For example, now, if it was only Lu Yuan, Hulina would not feel shy even if she made any seductive movements. However, there were others present. Even if they only saw her and Lu Yuan kissing, she was still very shy. "What, old man, I haven't seen you for 3 years, and you don't even recognize me." Hearing the familiar voice, Lu Yuan's mouth hooked up into a smile. Who else could this voice be other than the old man fellows? "Your Obuchi?" Looking at the changed Lu Yuan in front of him, the fellows could still see the shadow of his original self. He was shocked and said, "Kid, how did you grow so fast?" "My bloodline awakened, so I grew faster," Lu Yuan said with a smile. "Bloodline? Golden Dragon bloodline. Old man, you didn't expect it, right? Besides the Golden Dragon martial soul, I also have the Golden Dragon bloodline," Lu Yuan said proudly, without the slightest intention of hiding it. For him, the fellows was the person he trusted the most. There was no one else he trusted more than Chihiro Snow. It was not because of anything else, but because it was the old man in front of him who raised him from a young age. It was the old man in front of him who gave him the chance to survive. The kindness of raising him was greater than the heavens. Lu Yuan did not dare to say anything else, but he was a very principled person. The kindness of a drop of water should be repaid with a gushing spring, let alone the kindness of raising him. In his heart, the fellows was his eternal father in this life. If he became a god in the future, he would bring the fellows along no matter what. He was not like Tang San, who only cared about becoming a god and let Yu Shaojiang, Lu Erlong, and the others die of old age in the Douluo continent. The so-called a teacher for a day, a father for life was like a fart. It was also the first time Hulina heard that Lu Yuan actually had the Golden Dragon bloodline other than the Golden Dragon martial soul. She had slept with Lu Yuan for 3 years, but she did not know about this. However, she was not angry because Lu Yuan said it at this time, which meant that he did not mind Hulina knowing. In that case, Hulina naturally would not blame Lu Yuan. Because although she and Lu Yuan were senior and junior brothers, their identities were not as close as now. Although she felt a little sad that her junior brother chose to hide the secret, she could understand. Golden Dragon bloodline, haha, I knew that my son was extraordinary. Fellows laughed heartily. The more outstanding Lu Yuan was, the happier he was. He completely treated Lu Yuan as his own son, as if he were his own. The fellows smiled and looked at Hulina, who was still hiding behind Lu Yuan, and asked, This is my senior sister, Hulina. Come, senior sister, let me introduce you. This old man in front of you is my old man, the Dean of Nodding Academy, fellows." Chapter 93. Hello, Uncle Fellows. I'm Lu Yuan's senior sister, Hulina. Hulina greeted the fellows and said, "Hello, hello." The fellows said quickly with a strange smile on his face, "Old man, why are you smiling so strangely?" Lu Yuan looked at the fellow's strange smile, rolled his eyes and said, "Hee hee." Fellows chuckled and said, "Nice to meet you, senior sister and junior brother, nice to meet you." As he spoke, he gave Lu Yuan a knowing look. "Strange old man," Lu Yuan complained to the fellows. He pulled Hulina's hand and said, "Senior sister, let's go into the house first. Don't bother with this stinky old man." As he said that, he pulled Hulina into the house. "Hey, you stinky brat!" The fellows scolded with a smile and followed behind Lu Yuan. "Junior brother, is this your room?" Looking at the simple furnishings of the room, Hulina asked. Lu Yuan nodded and said, "It's very simple." Lu Yuan didn't like complicated things, so the room was very simple. There was a bed, a bedside table, and a desk. There was basically nothing else. "It's okay." Hulina nodded. Then I'll have to trouble senior sister to stay here for the next few days. This house is very small. There are only 2 rooms. Lu Yuan said with a smile. I'm fine with anything. As long as I can sleep with junior brother, I don't care where I sleep. Hulina looked at Lu Yuan with her beautiful eyes and revealed a beautiful smile. Lu Yuan's heart trembled. Senior sister, can you not be so emotional? It makes me feel very touched. I haven't been back for 3 years, but this room is still so clean. It seems that the old man often cleans it. Looking at the spotless room, Lu Yuan sighed. It seems like Uncle Fei treats you very well. He cleans the house every now and then, just waiting for the day you come back, Hulina said. Lu Yuan nodded. He pulled Hulina's hand and said, Let's go, senior sister. Let's go find that smelly old man and have a meal together. And Hulina responded and let Lu Yuan pull her away. Old man, what are you busy with? Looking at the fellows in the kitchen, Lu Yuan raised his eyebrows and said. The fellows rolled his eyes and said, Stinky brat, you're still watching the show? Hurry up and come help me. Do you want to tire this old man to death? Oh! Lu Yuan pulled Hulina into the kitchen and said with a smile, Senior sister, you haven't eaten my cooking yet, right? How about I let you try my cooking today? You know how to cook? Hulina's beautiful eyes were a little surprised. After being together with him for 3 years, Lu Yuan seemed to have never shown any talent in this area. Of course. Lu Yuan smiled faintly. His cooking skills were quite good. In his previous life, he was a single dog. In order to chase after his girlfriend, he specially learned how to cook. The dishes he cooked were not bad. It was a pity that he didn't find his girlfriend and transmigrated to this world. In this world, he had cooked a few times since he was young, but most of the time, he ate in the cafeteria. As for why, maybe it was because he was lazy. However, the fellows was quite satisfied with his cooking skills. After all, the dishes he prepared were quite novel to the people of the Douluo continent. Old man, what do you need me to do? Lu Yuan asked. The fellows said, The vegetables are almost done washing. You can start cooking. I will watch the fire for you. Okay. Lu Yuan rolled up his sleeves and washed his hands. He began to cut the vegetables and prepared to cook. Junior brother, let me help you cut the vegetables, Hulina said. Lu Yuan turned his head and said with a strange expression, Senior sister, have you cut vegetables before? No. Hulina shook her head with a red face. She had never been in the kitchen before. She had never washed vegetables, let alone cut vegetables. Senior sister, you should just wait there and eat. People who have never cut vegetables shouldn't join in the fun. It wouldn't be good if they cut their hand. Junior brother, I can't eat for free. See if there's anything I can cook. Let me do it, Hulina said. In her opinion, since her junior brother had personally cooked, she couldn't just do nothing. No matter what, she always hoped to be able to help her junior brother a little. And then senior sister, you can wash those bowls with water and use them to serve the dishes later. Lu Yuan said and pointed to the bowls in the cupboard. These bowls looked quite clean, but after all, they had been there for some time. It was necessary to wash them with water. In terms of hygiene, Lu Yuan was quite particular. Okay. After receiving the task, Hulina was very happy. She got a basin of water and began to wash the dishes. Every bowl was turned over and washed several times. It didn't look like washing dishes, but more like a massage. It was really clear as a mirror. Lu Yuan was secretly amused. If she washed the dishes like this, the restaurants outside would probably close down. In the time it took to wash the dishes, others would have cooked several dishes. However, since he only needed a few bowls to eat at home, Lu Yuan didn't want to dampen Hulina's enthusiasm. After cutting the side dishes, he poured in vegetable oil. After heating them up, he added the ingredient. After a simple stir-fry, he added the seasoning. In a short while, a rich fragrance of food assailed his nose. Wow, it smells so good. Hulina sniffed. So you really know how to cook? Hearing that, Lu Yuan's mouth twitched. So this girl didn't believe him before? It seemed like he had to show this girl his culinary skills today. I, Lu Yuan, am an all-round genius. There's nothing I can't do. After stir-frying a dish, Lu Yuan washed the pot and continued his cooking journey. Half an hour passed. The three of them sat around the stone table in the courtyard. There were 4 dishes and a soup on the table. Stir-fried pork tenderloin, stir-fried white prawns, spicy swordfish, stir-fried rabbit meat, red codfish soup. The 4 dishes and the soup were all filled with fragrance. Wow, junior brother, you're too amazing! Looking at the 4 dishes and the soup in front of her, Hulina's eyes twinkled with little stars. That was her admiration for Lu Yuan. This junior brother of hers was not only super handsome, talented, and intelligent, but even his culinary skills were so good. He was too charming. She really loved junior brother more and more. Try it and see how it tastes? Lu Yuan picked up some rabbit meat with his chopsticks and placed it in Hulina's bowl. He smiled and said, "See how this rabbit meat tastes?" Hulina took a bite. Her beautiful eyes instantly lit up. She said, "It's really delicious. It's spicy and fragrant. Moreover, it's not old at all. Instead, it's very fresh and tender. Junior brother, your culinary skills are really good. Eat more if it's delicious." Lu Yuan smiled and said, "Moreover, this rabbit meat is actually ordinary. The best part is the rabbit head. How about I make spicy rabbit head for you tonight?" "Okay, add more cumin and chili." "Okay." Lu Yuan smiled. "Cough cough, stinky brat, did you forget something?" The fellows rolled his eyes. "What did I forget?" Lu Yuan was a little puzzled. "You haven't picked up any food for me yet. Sure enough, once you have a wife, you even forget about your father." The fellows sighed and said. Hearing the fellows' words, Hulina's charming face blushed. She lowered her head in embarrassment. "Old bastard!" Lu Yuan scolded with a smile. He picked up a large piece of pork tenderloin and stuffed it into the fellows' bowl. Chapter 94. After lunch, Lu Yuan lay on the bench in the courtyard to digest his food. Hulina sat beside him, and Lu Yuan's head just happened to rest on Hulina's lap. "Junior brother, where are you going in the afternoon?" Hulina gently caressed Lu Yuan's face and asked softly. "To see a scumbag?" Lu Yuan said. "Scumbag?" Hulina asked softly. "Is he a scumbag like you, junior brother?" "What do you mean by like me?" Hearing Hulina's words, Lu Yuan got up and stared at Hulina unhappily. "Senior sister, watch your words." Hulina's eyes flashed with a trace of craftiness and said, "Junior brother, aren't you a scumbag for having a foot in 2 boats?" "That's right." Under Hulina's gaze, Lu Yuan actually nodded and said, "Indeed, then in order to not be a scumbag, I can only bear the pain and give up one. Senior sister, do you think it's better for me to give up on you or give up on you?" "What did you say?" Hulina's voice suddenly became louder and said, "Junior brother, what did you just say?" Lu Yuan secretly laughed, but his face pretended to be innocent and said, "Senior sister, just now you said that I have a foot in 2 boats, so in order to not be a scumbag, I can only bear the pain and give up on you, senior sister, sigh." As he said that, he pretended to be sad and sighed. "You dare!" Hulina suddenly became anxious and tears flashed in her eyes. Just now, she was deliberately teasing Lu Yuan, and in her heart, she might not have the idea of monopolizing Lu Yuan. She thought that it would be best to have more Lu Yuan, so that Lu Yuan's heart would not only be filled with Chihiro snow, and make some space for her. In the end, she did not expect Lu Yuan to say that. Hulina suddenly became anxious, and her heart was full of grievances. "Senior sister." Seeing that Hulina was so anxious that she was about to cry, Lu Yuan couldn't help but secretly scold himself. He stretched out his hand to caress Hulina's beautiful face and said, "Senior sister, don't worry. I was just joking. Really? Hulina looked at Lu Yuan with teary eyes. It's true, truer than gold, Lu Yuan said firmly. Then how do you prove it? Hulina asked. I can swear to God. Lu Yuan was just about to reach out when Hulina grabbed him. You don't have to swear, I believe you, Hulina said with a smile. Looking at Hulina's teary smile, Lu Yuan's heart was full of self-blame. He said seriously, Senior sister, I was wrong just now. I won't make such a joke in the future. Hulina hugged Lu Yuan and said softly, Junior brother, no matter what happens in the future, you can't abandon me. Even if you want to be with Chihiro Snow, you can't abandon me. And Lu Yuan nodded and then asked tentatively, Senior sister, then you agree to be with Little Snow. That depends on your performance. Hulina pinched Lu Yuan's waist, and Lu Yuan grimaced in pain. However, he was quite happy in his heart. At least Hulina's tone had loosened a little. Hulina loved him deeply and couldn't extricate herself. It was easy to deal with, but Little Snow was a big problem. The revolution hadn't succeeded yet, and his comrades still had to work hard. Hulina lay in Lu Yuan's arms and said, Who is that scum you were talking about? Grandmaster, have you heard of Yu Xiaojiang? I've heard of him. Hulina nodded and said, I heard the people in the Martial Soul Palace call him trash. Trash? Lu Yuan muttered to himself for a while and said, That's not wrong, he is indeed trash. But he has some research on martial souls, and it is still useful for low-level soul masters. Lu Yuan said. Low-level soul master? Hulina asked. And Lu Yuan nodded and said, This grandmaster has some research on martial soul tactics, and he advocates cooperation and emphasizes team strength. Even though a high-ranked soul cultivator relies more on their individual strength, teamwork is still somewhat effective in team battles between soul ancestors and below. But that's all there is to it. For a powerful soul cultivator, a team may not be of help, but rather a burden. Like you, junior brother? Hulina smiled. More or less. Lu Yuan nodded and didn't deny it. With his fighting style, it was indeed not suitable for him to cooperate with others. Of course, this was mainly because there weren't many people in the same rank who could keep up with his rhythm. If he forced himself to cooperate, it would weaken his strength. Then why did you call Yu Xiaojiang a scum? Hulina asked curiously. Lu Yuan smiled faintly and said, Do you think that a person who doesn't even believe his girlfriend who has been with him for more than 5 years and instead believes the words of others? He left his girlfriend and chose to be with his younger sister. In the end, he even abandoned his younger sister. Does that count as a scum? There's actually such a bastard in this world? Hulina's eyes widened. Is this kind of person worthy of living in this world? Hulina's charming face was full of anger. Junior brother, why don't we find someone to kill him? This kind of person will only harm people if he stays in this world. He's a waste of air when alive, and a waste of land when dead. I don't. Lu Yuan was shocked by Hulina's words and hurriedly stopped her. If they killed Yu Xiaojiang, Bibidon would go crazy. If news of this were to leak out, he and Hulina would both die. In the current Bibidon's heart, there was nothing more important than Yu Xiaojiang. Even if he wanted to kill them, he had to wait for them to grow up and do it silently. Furthermore, he had learned martial soul knowledge from Yu Xiaojiang since he was young. Although he had been self-taught most of the time, he had still learned a lot. At the very least, he had to repay this favor before he could make a move. Lu Yuan had never owed anyone anything. However, when he thought about how his beautiful female pontiff master actually liked Yu Xiaojiang, Lu Yuan was quite unhappy. Was Yu Xiaojiang worthy? Junior brother, if you don't kill this kind of person, are you going to keep him alive? Don't tell me you want to learn from him? Hulina looked at Lu Yuan with a questioning gaze. What are you talking about? He flicked Hulina's smooth forehead. The latter hugged her head in grievance, but her eyes were still stubbornly looking at Lu Yuan. Touching Hulina's charming face, Lu Yuan said with a serious expression. Senior sister, is this how you see me? I might not be loyal enough, but as long as I've set my mind on someone, I won't let go for the rest of my life. Whether it's you or Xiao Shui, since I've already set my mind on you, then you can only be mine in this lifetime. No one can take you away from me. Seeing Lu Yuan's serious expression, Hulina sighed in relief in her heart. With a smile on her face, she said, Junior brother, you're really domineering. Tightly hugging Hulina in his arms, Lu Yuan said with a smile, I'm just that domineering. Senior sister, since you've already boarded my pirate ship, then you can forget about getting off in this lifetime. I've never thought of getting off either. Hulina whispered softly, the corners of her mouth curling up into a smile. Chapter 95. Then why don't you let me kill him? Hulina looked at Lu Yuan suspiciously. Ah! Lu Yuan sighed and said, although he's a scumbag, he did teach me some martial soul knowledge when I was young. How can I make a move on him before I return the favor? Wouldn't I be a heartless person if I did that? Senior sister, you don't want me to become such a person, do you? Lu Yuan asked. All right then, I'll let him off. He got off too easy, Hulina said reluctantly, but she still dismissed the idea of killing the Grandmaster. After all, even though the Grandmaster was disgusting, nothing was more important than Lu Yuan in Hulina's eyes. For Lu Yuan's sake, she didn't mind letting the Grandmaster off. However, after Obuchi repaid the favor, I must find a chance to kill the Grandmaster. Hulina thought to herself. Then do you want to go with me later? Senior sister, Lu Yuan asked. Forget it. I'll lose my appetite when I see such a scumbag. I'm not going. You can go by yourself, Hulina said. All right then, I'll go by myself. You stay here and don't run around, Lu Yuan said with a smile. Got it. Hulina smiled and said, come back soon. Okay. Lu Yuan pinched Hulina's cheek and walked towards the Grandmaster. Hulina didn't follow him, which was more in line with Lu Yuan's intentions. After all, even though the Grandmaster hadn't seen Hulina before, he might discover Hulina's identity if something went wrong. His identity might be exposed as well, but it wasn't time for him to expose his identity yet. According to his plan, it was very likely that he would be able to infiltrate Shrek Academy in the future. It was said that Shrek's 7 monsters were one, and their fortunes were connected. He wanted to see if the 7 monsters could still become gods after their fortunes were separated. If he could make the 7 freaks fall apart, or even turn them against each other, it would be quite interesting. After all, during the final battle, Shrek's 7 monsters would be able to take on an equal number of titled Douluos. Lu Yuan was now a member of the Martial Soul Palace, and he had Chihiro Snow, Hulina, and even Bibidon to tie him down, so there was no way he was going to allow the Martial Soul Palace to suffer the same fate as the original novel. Since that was the case, he had no choice but to tear apart Shrek's 7 monsters. Furthermore, he was going to take away the opportunities in the original novel and do his best to suppress the growth of Tang San and the others. Yu Xiaojang would become Shrek Academy's trainer in the future, so he would still be of some use. Hence, even though Lu Yuan didn't like him, he still had to meet him to pave the way for future missions. Over the past 3 years, Lu Yuan's opinion of Yu Xiaojang had changed drastically. Originally, he still had a good impression of Yu Xiaojang, but ever since he became Bibidon's disciple and became closer to Bibidon, he wanted to kill Yu Xiaojang even more. At the end of the day, Lu Yuan didn't care about the lives of others. He only cared about the people around him. Cold on the outside but warm on the inside? That didn't suit Lu Yuan. It could only be said that Lu Yuan could treat his own people very well, but toward his enemies or those who had hurt those close to him, Lu Yuan would treat them with the greatest malice. Did Lu Yuan really care about the Martial Soul Palace? Actually, he didn't. What he cared about were Chihiro Snow, Hulina, Bibidon, and perhaps half of the golden crocodile. As for the others, Lu Yuan didn't care at all. Especially after the god-slaying spear was awakened, Lu Yuan's attitude became even more serious. Perhaps there wasn't any huge movement, but the influence of the god-slaying spear had subtly changed Lu Yuan's personality, and the scary thing was that Lu Yuan didn't even notice it at all. Walking along the small path of Nodding Academy, Lu Yuan quickly arrived outside the master's wooden house. It was still the same wooden house, but Lu Yuan's mentality was different from 3 years ago. Do. There was a knock on the door. Who is it? The master's rough voice sounded. It's me, Lu Yuan. Ta, creak. There was a series of footsteps, and the door was opened. Your Obuchi? Looking at Lu Yuan, who was almost 1.7 meters tall, the master almost couldn't believe that Lu Yuan had changed so much in just 3 years. It's me, master. The master was dressed as usual, and his figure was thin and slightly stooped. Come in and take a seat. Although the master was shocked, he quickly reacted and said to Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan nodded and walked into the wooden house. Obuchi, how did you change so much? I heard from the fellows that you went out to train and learn. You should have improved a lot in 3 years. It's okay, my strength has increased a little, Lu Yuan said. Have you reached rank 20? With your talent, it should be soon. Little 3 is already a rank 21 Soul Grandmaster. A few days ago, the fellows took him to get his second soul ring, a 700-year ghost vine. It's quite suitable for Little 3. The master's face was full of pride when he spoke of Tang San. A 9-year-old Soul Grandmaster was as rare as phoenix feathers and Qilin horns. You broke through rank 20, so are you showing off to me? Lu Yuan snorted disdainfully in his heart. A mere blue-silver grass, a rank 21 Soul Grandmaster, was something he could defeat 3 years ago. Moreover, was a 9-year-old Soul Grandmaster that powerful? His senior sister, Hulina, was also a rank 20 Soul Grandmaster when she was 9 years old. Now, she was already rank 38 at the age of 14. If you, Tang San, didn't have an immortal grass or an external soul bone, could you reach rank 38 at the age of 14? Lu Yuan thought to himself. Is that so? That's quite powerful. Although he felt disdain in his heart, Lu Yuan still smiled on the surface. Obuchi, then what's your rank now? Your martial soul is the Golden Dragon, and it's also innate full soul power. Your soul power's growth definitely isn't slow. Right now, you're at least rank 18 or 19. The master asked. Rank 18 or 19. Who are you looking down on? Lu Yuan thought to himself. Seeing the master's expression as if Tang San was so awesome, Lu Yuan snorted disdainfully. Wasn't it just to show off that you taught me well? While you're at it, you're also mocking me. If I had acknowledged you as my master back then I would have already become a Soul Grandmaster? Lu Yuan thought it was funny, but he suddenly had a bad taste in his mouth. He said, As for me, I haven't improved much in these 3 years. He sighed, his tone carrying some regret. It can't be that you haven't reached rank 18 yet, right? You were already rank 14 back then. Don't tell me you're still rank 17 after 3 years? The master's face carried a trace of anger. AI, who told you not to acknowledge me as your master back then? You wasted 3 years for nothing. Right now, I'm only a rank 28 Soul Grandmaster. In these 3 years, I haven't improved much. I'm only rank 14. Lu Yuan said with a sigh. What? Obuchi, you can't be lying to me, right? Let me tell you, lying to people isn't a good habit. The master was startled. Then, he started to preach. Suddenly, 2 rays of light, one yellow and one purple, rose from Lu Yuan's body, making the master at the side open his mouth wide. How is this possible? Chapter 96. The image of a huge golden dragon appeared behind Lu Yuan's back, and diamond-shaped scales appeared on both sides of his face. 2 soul rings, one yellow and one purple, shone with dazzling light, and a huge dragon's aura filled the air. After Lu Yuan's golden dragon bloodline had awakened, the aura of the golden dragon had become even stronger. Furthermore, with Lu Yuan's rank 28 soul power, the aura of the golden dragon was many times stronger than it was 3 years ago. Under this pressure, the Grand Master's body trembled slightly. The Grand Master's martial soul, Luo Sanpao, was a martial soul formed after the blue lightning tyrant dragon failed to mutate into a golden holy dragon. Although he grew up to look like a pig, he had the bloodline of a dragon. There was almost no dragon martial soul that could not be suppressed by the golden dragon. Even if the Grand Master's martial soul had completed its evolution and become a golden holy dragon, it could only crawl in front of Lu Yuan's golden dragon. In the Douluo continent, besides the dragon god and the gold and silver dragon king, the only other dragon martial soul that could compare to the golden dragon was the silver dragon. The golden dragon was the descendant of the golden dragon king, so the silver dragon was naturally the descendant of the silver dragon king. Of course, this descendant was not born from the silver dragon king, but was created from the silver dragon king's bloodline. According to the storyline, the silver dragon king was still a master. Cough cough. I've digressed. Under Lu Yuan's aura, the Grand Master and Luo Sanpao inside his body trembled. The intense dragon's aura made the Grand Master's legs go soft. Obuchi, are you really rank 28? The Grand Master supported himself with a chair to support his body. Under the situation where they were both dragon martial souls, the suppression of the golden dragon was too great. Lu Yuan nodded and said, rank 28 in 3 years. It's still a little slow. His tone seemed to carry a trace of regret. The Grand Master's mouth twitched. He finally knew what it meant to be pretentious, but it did not feel good to be pretentious. Just now, he had said that Tang San had already broken through rank 20, and wanted to show off in front of Lu Yuan. After all, Lu Yuan didn't take him as his master, and missed out on a martial soul master like the Golden Dragon, so he was a little unhappy. In the end, Lu Yuan gave him a huge counterattack in the blink of an eye. Not only had he broken through to become a Soul Grandmaster, but he was also a rank 28 Soul Grandmaster, and his second soul ring was even a 1,000-year one. How were they supposed to compete? Tang San's blue-silver grass 2 yellow souls were comparable? Or should he compare them with twin martial souls? Although twin martial souls were rare, the Golden Dragon was also a legendary martial soul. It was unbelievably powerful. If Tang San didn't have the clear sky hammer, he wouldn't even have the qualifications to pick up the Golden Dragon's worn shoes with just his blue-silver grass. The Golden Dragon is indeed a legendary martial spirit. The Grand Master sighed and looked a little dejected. Originally, the Grand Master was still a little happy to accept Tang San, a twin martial soul master, as his disciple. But now that he saw Lu Yuan's soul ring combination and rank, the Grand Master instantly felt that Tang San didn't seem to be that good anymore. Although Tang San had twin martial souls, even if he grew up, could he really defeat a freak with a Golden Dragon martial soul and a soul ring combination that exceeded the best? The Grand Master felt that there was a question mark. Hee. Hearing the Grand Master's sigh, Lu Yuan smiled faintly. Speaking of which, the Grand Master in the original work was really a bit like a protagonist. It could be said that apart from his strength, he really had all the advantages. The Sea God was his disciple, Shrek's 7 monsters were taught by him, and the Pope of the Martial Soul Palace, Rakshasa God, was his confidant. He also had a younger sister who had always loved him. No matter who won or lost in the end, the Grand Master would definitely profit. Apart from his strength being a little weaker and his appearance being a little shabby, he really didn't have any flaws. But in this life, the Grand Master wasn't so lucky. Because he, Lu Yuan, was here. The Grand Master should obediently spend the rest of his life with that pig martial soul of his. Bibidon and him were not fated. And with him around, the martial Soul Palace was destined to unify the continent. So what if Tang San was the son of the plane? He still had to crawl under his feet. According to the description of the Douluo continent's number 3, the ruler of the Douluo continent's plane was only a level 1 god. It was far inferior to the divine king. Every divine king in the divine realm had the strength to easily destroy the Douluo continent. With Lu Yuan's talent and the help of the system, he didn't believe that he couldn't even become a divine king in the end. As long as he had the strength to transcend the plane, so what if Tang San was the son of the plane? He could still kill him if he wanted to. He didn't care about others, but nothing must happen to Chihiro Snow, Hulina, and Bibidon. Whoever dared to make a move on them, he would kill them. Withdrawing his martial soul, the Golden Dragon's pressure began to dissipate. The Grandmaster sat down on a chair, his forehead covered in cold sweat. Sensing the soul force coming from Lu Yuan, the Grandmaster could tell that Lu Yuan's soul force was at the rank of 28. Furthermore, the soul force coming from Lu Yuan's soul force was even stronger than the average soul exalt. As expected of a beast soul of the highest quality, the Golden Dragon was truly powerful. The Grandmaster looked at the high-spirited Lu Yuan and sighed in his heart. With such great talent, why didn't he acknowledge me as his master? If I had him, my theories would definitely be famous in the continent in the future. No one would look down on me, Yu Xiaojiang. But it's a pity that I still missed the opportunity. The Grandmaster's thoughts raced. At this moment, the sound of footsteps came from outside. Lu Yuan glanced outside. It was a boy about 1.5 meters tall with an ordinary face. It was very obvious that it was Tang San. Tang San's appearance hadn't changed much. He definitely couldn't be considered handsome. Compared to Lu Yuan, the difference was like heaven and earth. Lu Yuan's handsomeness surpassed almost all the men in the entire Douluo continent. Otherwise, why would Chihiro Snow and Hulina both fall in love with him? At least, that was what Lu Yuan thought. Teacher. Tang San bowed to the Grandmaster, then turned to Lu Yuan with a puzzled expression. You are. They had some contact 3 years ago, but after 3 years, Lu Yuan had changed so much that Tang San couldn't recognize him. He is Lu Yuan, the Grandmaster said. Lu Yuan. Tang San looked carefully and said, Lu Yuan, you've changed so much. Lu Yuan's height was close to 1.7 meters, almost a head taller than Tang San. It was no wonder that Tang San couldn't recognize him. Little 3, long time no see. Lu Yuan smiled. Long time no see. Tang San also had a smile on his face. 3 years ago, his relationship with Lu Yuan was quite good. But what he didn't know was that the current Lu Yuan was no longer the Lu Yuan of Nodding Academy 3 years ago. They chatted again, and Tang San suddenly said, Obuchi, we haven't seen each other for 3 years. How about we spar? After being defeated by Lu Yuan 3 years ago, Tang San had been working hard to cultivate, wanting to get back at him. In the end, Lu Yuan disappeared. 3 years later, Lu Yuan returned. Tang San also wanted to defeat Lu Yuan to prove his strength. Little 3. The Grandmaster wanted to stop him. After all, he already knew that Lu Yuan's soul power had reached rank 28, and it was a combination of yellow and purple soul rings. In addition, the Golden Dragon martial soul was very powerful. It was almost impossible for Little 3 to win. Okay. Before the Grandmaster could finish speaking, Lu Yuan interrupted him. Since Tang San had delivered himself to his doorstep, he didn't mind hitting the sandbag again. Chapter 97. Lu Yuan was still very interested in beating up the main character. Especially when he thought about how Chihiro Snow, Hulina, and Bibidon's miserable ends were all related to Tang San in the original work. Lu Yuan wanted to beat him up even more. He would take it as venting his anger for Xiao Shui and his senior sister. Lu Yuan had agreed to Tang San's challenge. Although the master wanted to intervene, he was still a step too late. However, the master thought about it and felt that this might not be a bad thing. Even if Little San couldn't beat Lu Yuan, he should be able to force out Lu Yuan's true strength. That way, he would be able to find out what Lu Yuan's second soul skill was. After all, Lu Yuan's first soul skill was already so powerful. He was also interested in the second soul skill. As for Little San being beaten up, the master selectively forgot that young people getting beaten up a few more times didn't seem to be a bad thing. The master felt that it was worth it to exchange Tang San's beating for the Golden Dragon's data and information. The pitiful Tang San was sold by the master just like that. The two walked out of the wooden house. The house was narrow, so it was naturally impossible for them to fight inside. The master lived in a more remote place. There was a certain amount of empty space outside the wooden house. At least it was enough for two soul grandmasters to fight. Tang San and Lu Yuan walked into the arena. Their gazes met. Tang San's face was dignified, while Lu Yuan had a faint smile on his face and was indifferent. Tang San, Martial Soul Blue Silver Grass, Rank 21 Control System Soul Grandmaster. Lu Yuan, Martial Soul Golden Dragon, Rank 28 Assault System Soul Grandmaster. Rank 28. Tang San's heart trembled. In 3 years, he originally thought that he had reached rank 21 and obtained his second soul ring. His speed was already quite fast, but he didn't expect Lu Yuan to be already at rank 28. He had left him in the dust by 7 ranks. 3 years ago, after Lu Yuan absorbed his first soul ring, he was only 1 rank higher than him. In 3 years, he had actually left him in the dust? Tang San's thoughts fluctuated. However, Tang San was Tang San after all, the main character of the original work. His mind was not something an ordinary person could compare to. He quickly calmed down. Please enlighten me. Please. A blue vine emerged from Tang San's right hand. Although it was called blue silver grass, after absorbing the ghost vine's soul ring, Tang San's blue silver grass had transformed into a vine. The Grandmaster nodded his head. Although Tang San's blue silver grass was a bit lacking, it was very malleable. He had 200-year soul rings, and with the addition of the bind and parasitic skills, he should be considered one of the best among soul grandmasters. The Grandmaster was somewhat gratified. Tang San's existence proved that his theory was correct. According to his thinking, when Tang San became famous throughout the continent, his theory would definitely be accepted by the world. In fact, Yu Xiaozheng's theory in the original work had indeed been popularized. But now it was no longer the original work. Tang San's strength might be considered one of the best among soul grandmasters, but Lu Yuan was able to jump ranks. Even among soul elders, he might not be able to contend against him. Looking at Lu Yuan, Tang San thought to himself, although Lu Yuan's soul power is higher than mine, a control-type soul grandmaster can restrain an assault-type soul grandmaster. With the bind and parasitic skills, as well as the Tang sect's secret techniques, I might not necessarily lose this battle. He seemed to be very confident. Lu Yuan smiled. Today, he would let Tang San know what it meant to say that there would always be someone stronger, and that there would always be a mountain taller than the one before it. Tang San looked at Lu Yuan and said, "You're not going to release your martial soul?" The blue-silver grass in Tang San's hand had 2 shining yellow soul rings. "Of course, if there's a need." Lu Yuan smiled faintly. He didn't feel that he needed to use his martial soul to deal with a rank 21 Tang San. Tang San's expression became even more indifferent. Even with his temperament, facing Lu Yuan's contempt, he was somewhat angry. Arrogant. The Grandmaster's expression was also unsightly. Tang San was his disciple. Wasn't Lu Yuan looking down on Tang San the same as looking down on him? It seems that Obuchi's personality has become much more arrogant after going out for 3 years. It's good to let little San teach him a lesson. If they both used their martial souls, the Grandmaster felt that Tang San's blue-silver grass wouldn't be able to win against Lu Yuan's golden dragon. After all, he had experienced the aura Lu Yuan had just displayed. However, if they didn't use their martial souls, the Grandmaster felt that Lu Yuan would undoubtedly lose. One had to know that Tang San was also a genius, so the Grandmaster felt that Lu Yuan would definitely be forced to use his martial soul. He wanted Tang San to teach him a lesson so that he wouldn't dare to look down on others in the future. Blue-silver grass bind. Strands of blue-silver grass emerged from the ground and coiled towards Lu Yuan. As a control-type soul master, Tang San had comprehended many control-type soul master techniques in the past 3 years under the Grandmaster's guidance. Lu Yuan stomped his foot, causing the ground to crack and even a small hole to appear. The current Lu Yuan's strength in his normal state was around 9,000 jin. Every punch and kick contained an unparalleled amount of strength. With a stomp, Lu Yuan's figure quickly closed in. This strength. Seeing the movement caused by Lu Yuan's stomp, the Grandmaster's gaze froze and a trace of horror appeared on his face. With such destructive power, just how much strength did Lu Yuan have? Not good, little San is in danger. Seeing Lu Yuan pouncing towards him, Tang San's first thought was to dodge. Although he was very confident in his mysterious jade hands, Lu Yuan wasn't an ordinary soul master. He also seemed to know martial arts. Thinking back to 3 years ago when Lu Yuan killed a 100-year fierce mountain boar with a single punch, Tang San's heart still had some lingering fear from that explosive fist technique. His right hand flickered with light and strands of blue-silver grass coiled towards Lu Yuan, wanting to slow down Lu Yuan's speed. Lu Yuan's clear chi scripture automatically circulated and a golden light surged from his body. The moment the blue-silver grass came into contact with the golden light, it shattered into pieces. How is this possible? Tang San was shocked. After absorbing the mandala snake and ghost rattan, the blue-silver grass had become much more durable. But now, when it came into contact with the golden light on Lu Yuan's body, it actually shattered. Without contact, his coiling and parasitic abilities were useless. Take my fist. Lu Yuan was extremely fast. His right fist blasted out, and a burst of explosion sounded in the air. Not good. Ghost shadow perplexing track. Lu Yuan's fist was very aggressive. Before the fist even arrived, Tang San already felt a strong sense of oppression. This oppression caused goosebumps to appear all over Tang San's body. Ghost shadow perplexing track? Lu Yuan's lips curled into a disdainful smile as he activated Phoenix Dance's 6 illusions. The current Lu Yuan's attainments in Phoenix Dance's 6 illusions could be said to be extremely deep. He even had the idea of creating a new movement skill. How could Tang San's ghost shadow perplexing track compare to his speed? Not good, I can't dodge it. Mysterious jade hands, controlling crane capturing dragon. After realizing that he really couldn't dodge it, Tang San quickly stopped and instantly activated mysterious jade hands and controlling crane capturing dragon to disperse the force. Sensing that controlling crane capturing dragon seemed to be diverting his force, Lu Yuan's eyes focused. He once again increased his force by a few notches and directly broke free from the control of controlling crane capturing dragon. His fist landed on Tang San's chest. After being hit by Lu Yuan, Tang San spat out a mouthful of blood and flew back a few meters. Chapter 98. Little San. Seeing that Tang San was sent flying, the master hurriedly took a few steps forward. Little San, are you all right? Cough cough. Tang San coughed a few times. He felt a little stuffy in his chest, but his injuries weren't serious. He knew that Lu Yuan had held back. Teacher, I'm fine, Tang San said to the master, then turned to look at Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan, thank you for holding back. He knew that if Lu Yuan had not held back, he would have broken at least 2 of his ribs. With his current injuries, he only needed to rest for 2 days and he would be fine. It's fine, it's just a spar. Lu Yuan smiled faintly. It wasn't that he didn't want to seriously injure Tang San, but now wasn't the time. He didn't know where Tang Hao was peeping. If Tang San was seriously injured, Tang Hao would find trouble with him. As for killing Tang San, Lu Yuan felt that it wasn't necessary at the moment. He wasn't someone who liked to casually kill people. However, if Tang San were to go against the martial soul palace like in the original work, or even do something that threatened the martial soul palace, Lu Yuan wouldn't be merciful. Moreover, the current Tang San was too weak. Even if he defeated him, it wouldn't give Lu Yuan any sense of accomplishment. Of course, the above reasons weren't true. The real reason was that if he killed Tang San, the plot wouldn't be easy to write in the future. Did you think I would tell you this secret? It was funny. Seeing that Tang San was fine, the master was relieved, but he was still a little disappointed. The disciple that he had taught with all his might was defeated by Lu Yuan without even using his martial soul. This was undoubtedly a blow to the master. Looking at Lu Yuan, who was standing proudly in front of him, the master realized that Lu Yuan wasn't arrogant before. He really had the strength. Why wasn't such an outstanding young man his disciple? Looking at Lu Yuan, the Grand Master pondered for a long time before saying, "Obuchi, now that your strength has reached such a level, there is a place you can go and take a look at." "Oh, what place?" "Shrek Academy." "Shrek Academy?" Lu Yuan feigned ignorance. "Shrek Academy, an academy that only accepts monsters. It was founded by an old friend of mine. I'm sure you'll be interested," the Grand Master said. "An academy that only accepts monsters? Interesting. I will go and take a look when I have time," Lu Yuan said with a smile. Of course he was interested in joining Shrek Academy. If he didn't join Shrek Academy, how would he be able to break apart Shrek's 7 monsters? It was one of the few things he wanted to do. Shrek Academy is in Soto City. You should know where Soto City is, right? The master asked. Lu Yuan nodded. He naturally knew about Soto. It was the granary of the Fastno province. Tang San was slightly injured, so Lu Yuan didn't stay for long. After chatting for a while, he returned to his courtyard. It had been a while, and he didn't know what his senior sister was doing. When he returned to his courtyard, it was still as empty and secluded as before. The fellows were nowhere to be found. Only Hulina was left lying on the stone table, playing with her fingers in boredom. "Senior sister," Lu Yuan called out softly. "Junior brother, you're back." After hearing Lu Yuan's voice, Hulina immediately jumped up. She had a joyful smile on her face. She took a few steps forward and hugged Lu Yuan's arm. "You must have been impatient from waiting." Lu Yuan caressed Hulina's face. He had a gentle smile on his face. "It's all right." Hulina smiled sweetly. In this unfamiliar place, without Lu Yuan's company, Hulina definitely didn't feel good waiting alone. It was just that Hulina didn't like to tell Lu Yuan about these things. Every time she faced Lu Yuan, Hulina would show a smiling face. Lu Yuan naturally knew, but he didn't say it out loud. He just liked Hulina even more in his heart. "Let's go, senior sister. How about I bring you around Nodding City today?" Lu Yuan said. "Sure." Hulina smiled gently and said. Holding Hulina's hand, the two of them strolled around Nodding City. Although the two of them had top-notch looks and would inevitably attract the attention of others, there weren't any melodramatic incidents like playboys blocking their way to take liberties with them. They strolled around Nodding City, bought some Nodding City specialties for Hulina, and brought Hulina to eat Nodding City's snack. Time passed quickly. The sky was getting dark. Lu Yuan brought Hulina back to Nodding Academy. After dinner, the two of them walked into the room under the ambiguous gaze of the fellows. Speaking of which, there was one bad thing about the Douluo continent. There weren't any entertainment tools. After dark, there was nothing to do, and they could only go to bed early. In order to prevent Hulina from being bored, Lu Yuan didn't meditate early. He accompanied Hulina and chatted for a while. When the sky was completely dark, around 9 o'clock, he began to meditate. Hulina, on the other hand, was lying on the bed, her beautiful eyes staring at Lu Yuan without blinking. Dawn had just appeared, and another day had passed. After returning to Nodding City, Lu Yuan felt relaxed. Other than the necessary homework every day, he brought Hulina to stroll around Nodding City. After a few days, they had pretty much explored the entire Nodding City. On this day, Lu Yuan and Hulina had just finished their lunch. Of course, it was Lu Yuan who cooked. In fact, after returning for a few days, Lu Yuan cooked every day, while Hulina was in charge of washing the dishes. The two of them worked together quite well. However, happy days were always short-lived. On this day, Lu Yuan and Hulina had just left Nodding Academy when they were stopped by the Golden Crocodile. Grandpa Golden Crocodile! Seeing the Golden Crocodile, Lu Yuan was a little puzzled. He had not seen the Golden Crocodile for a few days, so why did he suddenly appear today? Something happened. It seems like your trip has to end here, the Golden Crocodile said faintly. What happened, Grandpa Golden Crocodile? Lu Yuan asked. Hulina also looked at the Golden Crocodile doubtfully. The Golden Crocodile flipped his palm, and a letter appeared in his hand. He handed it to Lu Yuan and said, "This is a letter from His Holiness the Pope. You will understand once you read it." Lu Yuan was curious. He took the letter and looked at it. There were 4 beautiful words on the envelope, to Lu Yuan. He opened the envelope and took out the letter. Lu Yuan studied it carefully. Hulina also leaned over to read it carefully. Grandpa Golden Crocodile, is what the teacher said in the letter true? Lu Yuan asked curiously. The news from the spies in the Xianra Empire is definitely reliable. The Golden Crocodile also had a serious expression. Lu Yuan gently tapped his chin and said, "If that's the case, then this trip to the Xianra Empire is a must. Moreover, this time the battle will be very intense." Yes. The Golden Crocodile nodded. After this news spread, there would definitely be many people who wanted a share of the profit. It might be difficult to obtain the final item. Chapter 99. Ding. Sign-in mission triggered. Sign-in location: Xianra Empire's Temple of Life. Sign-in time: 3 months. Sign-in reward: unknown. When Lu Yuan opened the letter, the system's voice sounded in Lu Yuan's mind. After being silent for so long, did the system give him another sign-in mission? However, Lu Yuan was pleasantly surprised. The last time he signed in at the Pope's temple, he was given a second martial soul, the God-killing spear. This was a tool martial soul that could suppress all martial souls in the world. It was so powerful that even the current Lu Yuan didn't dare to touch it. What good things would there be in this second sign-in? Lu Yuan was looking forward to it. This time, the ancient ruins have reappeared in the Xianra Empire. It will definitely attract the attention of many forces. The Golden Crocodile said. Lu Yuan nodded. The ancient ruins must contain priceless treasures. It might even be related to the Supreme God. Lu Yuan knew even more. From the system's sign-in mission, it wasn't difficult to guess that these so-called ruins were left behind by the Goddess of Life. It was hard to say whether there was a god's inheritance, but there must be some earth-shattering treasure. Otherwise, with the system's nature, it wouldn't trigger a sign-in mission for something that was obviously unrelated to the original plot. Since there was a mission, it meant that this Temple of Life might be very important to Lu Yuan. Teacher said in the letter that the ancient ruins this time are a little different. There are some restrictions on the age of the members who can enter. It seems that only those under the age of 20 can enter. Teacher wants me to go with senior sister so that we can take care of each other. Lu Yuan said. I'm going too? Hulina asked in surprise. Lu Yuan handed the letter to Hulina and said, Senior sister, I think you didn't read it clearly just now. Take a look again. Hulina took the letter and read it carefully. Sure enough, in Bibidan's letter, Lu Yuan and Hulina were asked to go to the ancient ruins so that they could take care of each other. There might be a soul ancestor under the age of 20, Lu Yuan said with a serious face. Hulina nodded her head. If one was outstanding enough, becoming a soul ancestor before the age of 20 wouldn't be difficult. Even the current Lu Yuan had to be wary of a soul ancestor. After all, even though Lu Yuan's martial soul bloodline was powerful, he was still only a level 28 soul grandmaster. Dealing with an ordinary soul ancestor like the fellows would be easy. But to become a soul ancestor before the age of 20 meant that he was a genius. Geniuses were naturally stronger than the average soul ancestor. But now that Hulina was a rank 38 soul ancestor, they wouldn't have to worry even if they had to deal with an equal number of soul ancestors. It was very likely that they'd be able to get the final item. As for whether or not there would be a Soul King, Lu Yuan decisively extinguished this thought. Apart from Chihiro Snow and the drugged Shrek's 7 monsters, only the members of the Martial Soul Palace's Golden Generation were able to become Soul Kings around the age of 20. Lu Yuan didn't believe that the Xianra Empire had such an expert. Even Dai Mubai's older brother, Davis, couldn't do it. According to the original story, Davis should be around rank 48 when he fought with Dai Mubai. He was 7 years older than Dai Mubai, and Dai Mubai should be 17 at that time. Therefore, Davis should be 24 years old. Dai Mubai was 3 years older than Lu Yuan, and was now 12 years old. It wasn't known if he had entered Shrek Academy, but his soul power rank was at most the same as Lu Yuan's. Therefore, it could be deduced that Davis should be 19 years old. At most, he should be a soul ancestor, or maybe not yet. As the eldest prince of the Xianra Empire, Davis's talent and resources were considered good. If even he hadn't become a soul ancestor, then the possibility of a soul ancestor appearing in the Xianra Empire wasn't high. On the other hand, the possibility of him and Hulina obtaining the item from the ruins was much higher. Will the Heaven Do Empire send people over? Hulina asked. According to the distribution of soul master forces in the world, the 3 upper sects were in the Heaven Do Empire. In terms of peak titled Douluo, the Xianra Empire was inferior to the Heaven Do Empire. It was precisely because of the support of the 7 Treasures Glazed sect and the maintenance of the Martial Soul Palace that the Heaven Do Empire and the Xianra Empire could maintain their current situation. In terms of strength, the Xianra Empire was much stronger than the Heaven Do Empire. However, in terms of soul master forces, perhaps the Heaven Do Empire was slightly superior. In the original novel, the Heaven Do Empire didn't just have the Heaven Do Imperial Family Battle Team. Although they were the stepping stones of Shrek's 7 monsters, it had to be said that they were still relatively strong. At the very least, they weren't much weaker than the Star Luo Imperial Family Battle Team. Furthermore, the Heaven Do Empire had 4 elemental academies, so their strength was also very strong. If the Heaven Do Empire sent people to participate, the competition would become even more intense. Probably not. Lu Yuan shook his head. Unlike the Martial Soul Palace, the Martial Soul Palace's forces were spread across both empires. Therefore, the Xianra Empire couldn't obstruct the Martial Soul Palace's people from going over. However, the Heaven Do Empire was different. The 2 empires had been at odds with each other for a long time. It was almost impossible for them to get along peacefully. Therefore, it would be extremely difficult for the Heaven Do Empire to interfere and take a share of the profits. Lu Yuan voiced his thoughts. The Golden Crocodile nodded in agreement. After hearing Lu Yuan's thoughts, Hulina also expressed her approval. She asked, "Junior brother, when do we set off?" "Let's set off tomorrow. If I'm not wrong, there might be a time limit to the appearance of these ruins." Lu Yuan made a few more guesses as he recalled the 3-month time limit given by his system. After all, his system didn't have much activity. As long as there was activity, it was necessary to do so every single time. Hulina nodded when she heard this. She chose to believe Lu Yuan's judgment. Perhaps love was blind. Since he had already made his decision, Lu Yuan didn't hesitate anymore. He was the kind of person who would immediately do something once he had made up his mind, no matter what it was. He liked Chihiro Snow, so he didn't hide his feelings. He secretly stamped Chihiro Snow so that Chihiro Snow would understand his feelings. He realized that he might have liked Hulina, so he didn't hide his feelings anymore. He decisively accepted Hulina. This matter was the same. The Temple of Life was a ruin left behind by the Goddess of Life. It was impossible for him not to be interested. Furthermore, it wasn't like he couldn't refuse the system's sign-in mission. After all, the first sign-in mission had given him a top-notch martial soul like the god-slaying spear. The second sign-in mission might give him something heaven-defying. It would be best if it dropped something good that could increase his spiritual power. That way, he would be able to use the god-slaying spear sooner. After all, everyone knew that they had the world's strongest martial soul, but they couldn't use it. Otherwise, they would hurt themselves. This wasn't a good feeling. Chapter 100. Lu Yuan was naturally a little reluctant to leave after returning for a few days, but he still had to prioritize important matters. The fellows also expressed his understanding of Lu Yuan's decision to leave. After all, strength reigned supreme in the Douluo continent. With strength came the right to speak. He was already in his 60s, and he understood this better than anyone else. Therefore, even though he was reluctant to let Lu Yuan leave so soon, the fellows still chose to support him. He just kept reminding Lu Yuan to be careful. Lu Yuan was naturally very touched by the fellows' concern. He promised the fellows that he would take good care of himself and Hulina. As long as he had time, he would come back to see him. After bidding farewell to the fellows, the three of them sat in a carriage and headed towards the Xianra Empire. Nodding City was located at the border between the Xianra Empire and the Heaven Do Empire. It was actually quite close to the Xianra Empire. However, the Temple of Life had appeared in a small city not far from Star Luo City, Sunhua City. Therefore, Lu Yuan and the others still needed a certain amount of time to arrive. Grandpa Golden Crocodile, if I remember correctly, Sunhua City shouldn't be far from Star Luo City. It's the territory of the Xianra Empire's Zhu family, right? Lu Yuan asked the Golden Crocodile as they sat in the carriage. Yes. The Golden Crocodile nodded. His voice came from outside the carriage. The ruins were first discovered by the Zhu family. At that time, the Zhu family wanted to monopolize it. Later, another organization in the Xianra Empire called the Zither Sect discovered it and spread the news. Therefore, the entire Xianra Empire knew about it. Our spies in the Xianra Empire sent the news back to the Martial Soul Palace. It was also because of our Martial Soul Palace's strong request that the Xianra Empire was forced to open the ruins to all the sects and soul masters in the Xianra Empire. This was also the reason for this operation. Lu Yuan nodded. Without the pressure of a powerful force, how could the Xianra Empire open an ancient ruin to the outside world? If I'm not wrong, the Zhu family may have already tried to explore the ruins before the news spread. After the news spread, the royal family of the Xianra Empire must have also explored the ruins. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a saying that only those under the age of 20 could enter. I think this news may have been obtained at the cost of human lives, Lu Yuan said. That's right. Golden Crocodile nodded and said, I really can't hide anything from you. According to the information from the spies, all those over the age of 20 who entered the ruins died on the spot. Although those under the age of 20 did not obtain anything, they returned safely. Hulina looked at Lu Yuan with stars in her eyes. Junior brother's appearance just now was really too charming. It was as if his entire body was emitting light. Ah, this old lady's maiden heart. Junior brother like this, I love. Lu Yuan naturally did not notice Hulina's gaze. At this moment, he was still analyzing. Those over the age of May 20th have triggered some kind of restriction. Perhaps the entrance of the ruins has some method to check one's skeletal age. Those over the age of May 20th have been killed on the spot, and those under the age of May 20th have returned safely. Perhaps what? Hulina asked. Perhaps the ruins are not dangerous. Or perhaps even if one dies in the ruins, they may be revived outside, Lu Yuan said. The Golden Crocodile and Hulina were both shocked. That's impossible. Golden Crocodile asked. That's not necessarily true. Lu Yuan smiled faintly. He knew that it was the relic of the Goddess of Life. The Goddess of Life was the kindest of people and was full of respect for life. Her relic would naturally not be too dangerous, and she would not necessarily take the lives of those who entered the relic. As for those over the age of 20 who died on the spot upon entering, Lu Yuan suspected that it was not the Goddess of Life's doing. It was very likely that someone had set up a restriction to prevent those who did not meet the requirements of the Goddess of Life from forcibly entering. It was to prevent some old farts from oppressing others with their age advantage. This would lose the meaning of the ruins selection. As for who set up this restriction, Lu Yuan also had some guesses. After all, the Goddess of Life was not alone. She also had a husband called Destruction. With this person's temperament, it was normal for her to set up a restriction to kill a few people. The Golden Crocodile was silent. Although Lu Yuan's words were a little absurd, the Golden Crocodile had a feeling that perhaps Lu Yuan was not wrong. Hulina did not express her opinion. Although she also felt that Lu Yuan's words were a little shocking, since Lu Yuan said it, Hulina felt that it must be reasonable. After all, Lu Yuan had never been a person who spoke without thinking. Hulina loved Lu Yuan very, very much. When it came to understanding Lu Yuan, there might not be anyone who understood him better than her, not even Chihiro Snow. After all, they had slept on the same bed for 3 years. Ever since she knew that she might have fallen in love with Lu Yuan, Hulina spent the rest of her time on Lu Yuan other than cultivating her soul power. She cared about Lu Yuan's hobbies and analyzed Lu Yuan's personality. Almost all of Lu Yuan's preferences were recorded in Hulina's heart. Therefore, since Lu Yuan was certain, Hulina naturally expressed her support. Junior brother, I believe in you. Hulina grabbed Lu Yuan's hand with a determined look in her eyes. Looking at Hulina's smiling face, Lu Yuan smiled and kissed Hulina's red lips gently. He pulled Hulina into his arms. Without mentioning anything else, Hulina's unreserved trust in him really moved him. Lying in Lu Yuan's arms, Hulina's face revealed a blissful smile. To her, no matter what dangers there were in the ruins or what opportunities there were, she didn't care. As long as she could be with her junior brother, she was very happy. Riding a carriage, especially a long-distance carriage, was a very tiring thing. Half a month had passed since Lu Yuan and the rest set off from Nodding City and arrived at Star Luo City. In this half a month, Lu Yuan and the rest ate and slept in the open. In order to rush for time, they sometimes started to rush before the sun rose. After half a month, even with Lu Yuan's physique, he couldn't help but feel a little tired. Hulina was even more so. She was lying in Lu Yuan's arms and sleeping soundly. Suddenly, the carriage stopped. Why did we stop, Grandpa Golden Crocodile? Lu Yuan asked. We are already outside Star Luo City, and Platinum Bishop Osfer has personally come to welcome us. Obuchi, do you want to meet him? Golden Crocodile said. Lu Yuan shook his head and said, No need. My identity can't be exposed yet. There are too many people here. Let's go directly to Star Luo Martial Spirit Temple. We'll talk when we get there. His identity was more sensitive, so it was better not to expose it for the time being. Otherwise, it would have a negative impact on his future actions. The golden alligator Douluo nodded. As for whether Osfer would be angry if he didn't see them, Golden Crocodile couldn't be bothered to care about that. They had the second consecrator of Consecration Hall and 2 disciples of the Pope. How could a mere platinum bishop have a higher status? Chapter 101. The Golden Crocodile drove the carriage and entered Douluo city. The platinum bishop, Osford, personally welcomed them, causing Lu Yuan and the others to be the center of attention. Even though they were separated by the carriage, Lu Yuan could still feel the constant gazes of people. This caused Lu Yuan to frown involuntarily. In his opinion, it was best to keep a low profile. This Osford really knew how to find trouble. Hulina had also woken up long ago, but she was still lying in Lu Yuan's arms. "Junior brother, have we arrived at Douluo city?" Hulina blinked her beautiful big eyes. Lu Yuan nodded and said, "We've arrived, but we've encountered some trouble." "What trouble?" Hulina asked curiously. "The Platinum Bishop of Douluo Temple, Osford, has organized such a grand welcoming ceremony. With so many people watching outside, our identities might be exposed." Lu Yuan said. "So it's this. There's no need to worry." Hulina's beautiful eyes moved. "Oh, could it be that senior sister has a way?" Lu Yuan asked. Hulina revealed a trace of a smile. The necklace in her arms shone with a white light, and 2 items appeared in her hands. "Junior brother, look, what are these?" Hulina waved the items in her hands with an excited smile on her face. "Mask. Senior sister, you still have these things?" Lu Yuan's eyes were sharp. With a glance, he saw 2 masks. "I saw them when I was strolling around Martial Spirit City. I felt that they were very exquisite, so I bought them. I didn't expect that they would come in handy today." Hulina smiled sweetly. "Senior sister, you've helped a lot. With this mask, my identity won't be exposed," Lu Yuan said with a smile. "I've helped so much. Is there any reward?" Hulina said coquettishly. "Then what reward do you want?" Lu Yuan said with a smile. "Yes." Hulina pointed at her red lips. Lu Yuan smiled faintly, leaned over, and kissed Hulina's red lip. A moment later, Lu Yuan raised his head and said with a smile, "Is this good enough?" Hulina blinked her beautiful eyes and said in a gentle voice, "It's not enough." Lu Yuan shook his head helplessly and leaned over again. Woo! This time, it lasted for a long time. Alas! Hearing the commotion in the carriage, Golden Crocodile sighed and cursed in his heart. "This damned little vixen only knows how to seduce Obuchi. Xiao Shui, your future husband is about to be seduced away. Grandpa Golden Crocodile has let you down." The golden alligator Douluo sighed as he thought about it. Martial Spirit Temple. Osford had a respectful expression on his face. He wasn't just respectful to Hulina and Lu Yuan, the 2 disciples of the Pope. He was even more respectful to the Golden Crocodile. A rank 98 pinnacle Douluo was no different from a legend in the Xianra Empire. This was because the strongest consecrator in the Xianra Empire's imperial family was only rank 96. He was the current patriarch of the Douluo Empire's imperial family. The Xianra Empire might be stronger than the Heaven Do Empire in terms of military strength, but it was inferior to the Heaven Do Empire in terms of elite soul masters. Of course, Osford was so respectful to the Golden Crocodile not only because of his own strength, but also because of Golden Crocodile's identity as the second consecrator of the Consecrator Hall. Of course, Osford didn't dare to neglect Lu Yuan and Hulina. After all, even though he was a platinum bishop, Hulina and Lu Yuan were the Pope's disciples. They might be the new Holy Son or Holy Lady in the future. Osford was old and experienced, so he naturally wouldn't neglect them. There were a total of 4 platinum bishops in the Martial Spirit Palace. Osford and Sakas were stationed in the Xianra Empire's Douluo City and the Heaven Do Empire's Heaven Do City, respectively. The 4 platinum bishops were all rank 89. Their status in the Martial Spirit Palace was only second to the Pope and the various elders. Their statuses were relatively high. However, the 4 platinum bishops were relatively old, and it was basically impossible for them to break through to become titled Douluo. If a person's strength couldn't increase, he or she would look for other alternative. People like Sakas and Osford chose power. If the golden crocodile was displeased, or if Lu Yuan and Hulina expressed their displeasure in front of Bibidon, Osford might lose his current position as a platinum bishop. This was unacceptable to Osford, whose heart had been corrupted by power. Therefore, Osford didn't give Lu Yuan and the others any face. Instead, he went straight to the martial spirit palace. He didn't have any objections, and didn't dare to have any objections. Wearing a mask, Lu Yuan walked into the martial spirit temple under the watchful eyes of many people in the temple. After walking into the martial spirit palace, Lu Yuan ignored Osford's hospitality and went straight to the point. Bishop Osford, how's the situation in Sinua City now? Lu Yuan and the others spent more than half a month rushing from Nodding City to Star Luo City. The news they received was from half a month ago, and was no longer accurate. Osford was the highest leader of the martial spirit palace in Star Luo City, so he should be more clear about the situation in Sinua City. Young Master Yuan, according to the news from the Sacred Temple's spies, various powers have gathered in Sinua City, and the situation is very tense. Not only are there people from the Xianra Empire's royal family, but there are also people from the Netherworld Duke's Zhu family. Other than that, there are also the Su family, the Zither sect, and the Wind Sword sect, Osford said. Lu Yuan raised his eyebrows and said, "Have the various powers discussed the time to enter? The quota to enter? I think it's time for the various powers to compete with each other." "Yes," Osford said. "Originally, the Star Luo imperial family has urged me several times to discuss the time and quota, but since the Second Reverend and young Master Yuan haven't arrived, this old man didn't dare to make a decision." "You've done well," Golden Crocodile said indifferently. "Many thanks for the Second Reverend's praise. This is what this subordinate should do," Osford said. Lu Yuan pondered for a moment and said, "Since that's the case, then discuss with the Star Luo imperial family. The opening time will be set 3 days later, and no more than 2 people from each power can enter." Osford's gaze shifted to the Golden Crocodile. The Golden Crocodile frowned and said, "Let's do as Obuchi says." "Okay, this subordinate will immediately send someone to contact the Star Luo imperial family," Osford quickly said. Lu Yuan nodded and cast a glance at the Golden Crocodile. The Golden Crocodile understood and said, "Since this matter has been settled, then it's settled. There's no need for your welcoming ceremony. We don't like crowds. Send someone to lead us to rest. We've been on the road for days, and we're a little tired." "Yes," Osford said. Star Luo Martial Spirit Temple, in a room. Lu Yuan's hands were behind his back as he looked into the distance. The mask on his face had already been removed, revealing an immortal-like face that emitted a cold aura. Chapter 102. Junior Brother. Hulina hugged Lu Yuan from behind and leaned her charming face against Lu Yuan's back. Although Lu Yuan was only 9 years old, his height had already caught up with Hulina's, and was even slightly taller. When the two stood together, they were quite compatible. "What are you thinking about?" Hulina asked softly. Lu Yuan's palm stroked Hulina's white hands that were hugging his waist and said softly, "Nothing, I'm just thinking about the trip to the ruins in 3 days." Hulina responded. Lu Yuan pulled away Hulina's jade hands that were hugging him, turned around, and pulled Hulina into his embrace. He said, "Senior sister, we'll explore the ruins in 3 days. No one knows what will happen, and no one knows what dangers there will be inside. It's best that you stay by my side at all times and don't leave." "Junior brother, are you looking down on your senior sister? I'm also very powerful." Hulina waved her pink fists and said in a show of force. Yes, yes, yes. Senior sister, you're the most powerful. Pinching Hulina's jade nose, Lu Yuan said, the ruins in 3 days won't be simple. Moreover, there are all kinds of big powers. Senior sister, although you and I are outstanding among our peers, we're still young. For those 18 or 19-year-old soul masters, the flaw in our age may turn into a disadvantage in our soul power. And Hulina nodded lightly. However, as long as we cooperate with each other, no matter how difficult the opponents are, they won't be able to do anything to us. Senior sister, your charm ability can attack the spiritual aspect, and my golden dragon's body is invincible. I don't think there will be a better combination than us. Therefore, we must take care of each other, Lu Yuan said with a smile. And then, Hulina nodded her small head lightly. She hugged Lu Yuan's waist tightly with both hands and snuggled into Lu Yuan's embrace. Lu Yuan stroked Hulina's hair with a serious and determined expression. No matter what they encountered in the ruins of the Goddess of Life 3 days later, he would do his best to protect Hulina. It had nothing to do with anything else because Hulina was his woman, that was all. Sinuous City. The sun was shining brightly, but the small Sinuous City was filled with representatives of various major forces. Each force had 1 or 2 young people with them. They should be the top geniuses of their respective forces or sections. Lu Yuan was wearing a mask. Beside him was Hulina, who was also wearing a mask. Hulina, who was only 14 years old, was extremely beautiful. Although she was wearing a mask, her figure was already quite attractive. Not far away, there were always hot gazes from young men. Feeling those hot gazes, Lu Yuan frowned slightly. He took a step forward, and the aura of the golden dragon emerged from his body, fiercely oppressing those young men. Although Lu Yuan was only a rank 28 soul grandmaster, with the support of his bloodline and soul power, he was not inferior to a soul ancestor. The strongest of those young men was only an elementary soul elder. Suppressed by Lu Yuan's aura, they all resentfully withdrew their gazes. Hulina looked at Lu Yuan's jealous expression and couldn't help but laugh. Still laughing? What's so funny? Lu Yuan rolled his eyes. Haha, junior brother, you're actually jealous. This is the first time senior sister has seen you jealous. Hulina giggled. Lu Yuan glanced at her, but didn't say anything. Seeing Lu Yuan silent, Hulina laughed even more happily. She leaned over to Lu Yuan's ear and whispered, Junior brother, do you know? Senior sister was so happy just now. Hulina's bright eyes revealed a smile. Lu Yuan still didn't say anything. He only held Hulina's hand tightly. Hulina felt sweet in her heart, and let Lu Yuan hold her hand. On one side, Lu Yuan and Hulina were flirting. On the other side, a group of people walked over. The first thing that came into view was a white tiger flag. This was exclusive to the Star Luo imperial family. Just like how the Heaven Do Empire's imperial family used a swan flag, the white tiger flag was undoubtedly synonymous with the Star Luo imperial family. In Sinuous City, where many powers gathered, only the current emperor of the Xianra Empire, the white tiger Douluo, Dai Tianfeng, dared to walk in so openly. Dai Tianfeng was not only the emperor of the Xianra Empire, but also one of the few titled Douluo in the Xianra Empire. His title was White Tiger. He was a rank 94 titled Douluo. The strongest person in the Xianra Empire was naturally the previous White Tiger Douluo. He was also the Star Luo Emperor's father, Dai Tianlin. He was a rank 96 transcendent Douluo, and also the foundation of the Star Luo imperial family. Dai Tianfeng. Lu Yuan said softly as he looked at Dai Tianfeng, who was wearing a crown and had an iron-blooded aura. This Dai Tianfeng has some tricks up his sleeve. The Golden Crocodile said, the Xianra Empire is much stronger than the Heaven Do Empire. If not for the 7 treasures glazed sex support, the Heaven Do Empire's strength would not be able to contend with the Xianra Empire. For our martial soul palace, the Xianra Empire will be our greatest enemy in the future. The golden crocodile's voice was not loud, but it accurately reached Lu Yuan, Hulina, and the others' ears. Furthermore, the golden crocodile's soul power field made it impossible for others to hear what Lu Yuan and the others were saying. "We'll destroy him sooner or later," Lu Yuan said as he stared at Dai Tianfeng's figure in the distance. The golden crocodile nodded in satisfaction as he looked at Lu Yuan's confident expression. Whether it was in terms of talent or intelligence, this disciple of his was far superior to ordinary people. In the future, his achievements would definitely surpass his own. With him assisting Chihiro Snow, it would not be difficult for him to unify the continent in the future. Although the golden crocodile was very satisfied with Lu Yuan, he still had to remind Lu Yuan, however, that's in the future. What you need to do now is to work hard and cultivate. Of course. Lu Yuan nodded slightly. Although he was a little arrogant, he was not like Guan Yu of the Three Kingdoms, who looked down on everyone. He understood his own strength, and also understood what he needed to do at this stage. He would not bite off more than he could chew. Dai Tianfeng ascended the stage that had been prepared in advance under the gazes of everyone. "Citizens of the Xianra Empire, greetings, everyone. I am Dai Tianfeng." Dai Tianfeng's voice sounded very generous and imposing. As the father of Davis and Dai Mubai, Dai Tianfeng was a rank 94 titled Douluo. He was much more powerful than the Heaven Do Empire's Snowy Night Emperor, whether it was in terms of strength or skill. "I believe that everyone is here for the ancient ruins that have appeared in Sunue City. I will not waste any more words. Here, I will talk about the ancient ruins." After a discussion with Bishop Osford of the Martial Soul Temple, the Wind Sword Sect's Sect Master, the Netherworld Duke, and the Zither Sect's Sect Master, I have implemented certain regulations and restrictions on the people that can enter. Each faction can only send 2 Soul Masters, and the Soul Masters that enter must be below the age of 20. In the ruins, the factions are not allowed to kill each other. Each faction. Chapter 103. So much nonsense. Lu Yuan curled his lips impatiently as he looked at Dai Tianfeng, who was speaking with fervor and assurance on the high platform. Dai Tianfeng's speech reminded him of the opening ceremony in his previous life, where the school leaders droned on and on until the end of a long, smelly speech that resembled an old woman's foot-binding cloth. Something about not hurting each other, not taking the initiative to endanger others' lives, not gathering in groups. His words were like farts. Damn it, if you don't fight for the ancient ruins, where will the opportunity fall from the sky? Furthermore, he was certain that the one who took the lead in disrupting Dai Tianfeng's speech was his son, Davis, because the tradition of the Xianra Empire was that brothers should fight to the death and not take the initiative to harm others. It was especially disgusting when it came from Dai Tianfeng's mouth. Lu Yuan curled his lips in disdain as he looked at Davis, who was wearing a gorgeous robe not far from Dai Tianfeng. But why wasn't Dai Mubai here? Could it be that Dai Mubai had already gone to Shrek Academy, so he couldn't come? That was possible. After all, the Xianra Empire had sealed off information. In the Heaven Do Empire, only the upper echelons of the major powers knew about the appearance of the ancient ruins. Dai Mubai was currently drunk in Shrek Academy, so he definitely didn't know about it. As for the group of poor people in Shrek, they only thought about how to earn some extra money every day. How could they be in the mood to know about what was happening in the Xianra Empire? As for why Lu Yuan could recognize that this person was Davis and not Dai Mubai, it was because Davis was taller, at least 9 meters. Dai Mubai was 3 years older than Lu Yuan and was 12 years old this year, so he definitely wasn't that tall. Another important reason was that Dai Mubai was born with evil eyes and had double pupils, while Davis only had normal eyes. Lu Yuan's spiritual power was strong, and his ears were sharp. Although he was a little far away, he could still clearly see that Davis's eyes were no different from ordinary people's. Lu Yuan wasn't in the mood to listen to what Dai Tianfeng had to say. He looked around and observed all the soul masters under the age of 20 sent by the major powers. After all, know yourself and know your enemy, and you will never be defeated. Suddenly, Lu Yuan's gaze paused. That was the direction of the Zither sect. Lu Yuan couldn't help but exclaim softly. What's wrong, junior brother? Seeing Lu Yuan's surprised expression, Hulina asked. After all, Lu Yuan had always been calm and collected. He always had an indifferent expression on his face. Just now, he was obviously a little surprised. No one knew what he had seen, so Hulina was a little interested. Nothing, I just saw an interesting person. Lu Yuan's eyes flashed. Even Davis hadn't noticed him when he was observing the young soul cultivators from the various factions. This was because Lu Yuan's soul force was relatively low, but his spiritual power was much higher than Davis's and the others. That was why they hadn't noticed him. Just now, when he was in the Zither sect, Lu Yuan had discovered that someone had actually sensed his gaze. One had to know that when Lu Yuan was observing, he had deliberately avoided those high-level adult soul masters. Ordinary young soul masters wouldn't have noticed his gaze. But just now, that person from the Zither sect had not only noticed Lu Yuan's gaze, but had also followed Lu Yuan's spiritual undulations and exchanged glances with Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan couldn't help but exclaim in amazement. He hadn't thought that there would be such a person among the younger generation of the Xianra Empire. It had to be known that of all the young soul masters present, the only one who could use their gaze and spiritual undulations to smoothly discover Lu Yuan under his gaze was Hulina. According to Lu Yuan's estimations, the only one who could do so was to smoothly discover Lu Yuan. He hadn't thought that such a genius would appear in the Zither sect. Even if that person's spiritual power couldn't compare to Lu Yuan's, he definitely wasn't weak. He probably wasn't much weaker than Hulina. Interesting person? Hulina asked curiously. Who is it? I don't know. Lu Yuan shook his head. Lu Yuan didn't know much about the Zither sect. They were good at using spiritual power to control others, and they had a certain amount of experience in the study of spiritual power. Their most important achievement and method was to store spiritual power in the sound of the zither, using sound to attack and kill enemies. This was also why the Zither sect had a place in the Xianra Empire. Even when compared to the four lower sects, their strength wasn't far off. That person just now had a grave and stern temperament, and his eyes were sharp. Even his clothes were different from ordinary soul masters. Presumably, his position in the Zither sect isn't ordinary. Lu Yuan murmured. Among the younger generation, Lu Yuan's spiritual power had always been successful. Apart from Chihiro Snow, even Hulina couldn't compare to it. It was precisely because of this that he could resist Hulina's charm. Today, when he was testing the waters, he had actually almost capsized. Lu Yuan couldn't help but be interested. Someone from the Zither sect? Sooner or later, we'll have a chance to meet. Lu Yuan said softly. Zither sect? Hearing Lu Yuan's murmur, Hulina also looked in the direction of the Zither sect. Unfortunately, she didn't see anything. She could only helplessly withdraw her gaze. Lu Yuan's gaze continued to move, and then suddenly stopped. This time, it wasn't because he was being spied on, but because he discovered a young girl with an extremely good figure. Lu Yuan was momentarily shocked. This girl's expression was extremely cold, and even her eyes were ice-cold. She was dressed in black clothes and leather pants. Looking at her face, she was at most the same age as Lu Yuan. However, her figure was even more fiery than Hulina's, and her arrogance was suffocating. I'm afraid that not only senior sister, but even little Shui can't compare to her. However, teacher can compare to her. Lu Yuan thought to himself. Bah, what am I thinking? You actually dared to talk about teacher, you deserve a beating. Lu Yuan cursed inwardly, feeling ashamed of his thoughts. This girl by herself seemed to give Lu Yuan a familiar impression. He felt that he had heard of her before, but he just couldn't remember where. Lu Yuan shook his head and discarded his thoughts. His gaze once again turned to Dai Tianfeng's direction, because his nonsense was already over. Next is the opening of the ruins. Dai Tianfeng said in detail, Young soul masters, please prepare yourselves and enter one by one. After he finished speaking, his hand seals changed. As if space was suddenly compressed, a circular door suddenly appeared in the air above Sinuous City. The door was pitch black, as if it was connected to another world. This is a different space, a small world? Golden Crocodile exclaimed. Ancient ruins are really extraordinary. Hulina couldn't help but nod. Lu Yuan didn't say anything. Instead, his gaze was fixed on the purple bead at the top of the circular door. His spiritual sense, which surpassed that of an ordinary person, allowed him to feel that the bead contained an extremely powerful destructive power. This power was far more powerful than anyone Lu Yuan had seen so far. Even Sendoryu and Bibidon didn't seem to have this kind of power. This kind of power seemed to be above the Douluo continent. This definitely didn't belong to the category of human soul masters, but belonged to a higher level. Lu Yuan thought to himself. Chapter 104. Perhaps this bead is a tool used to restrict those who enter. As long as they are of the right age, they won't be affected. However, if they are older than the right age, then the power emanating from this bead will definitely turn them into ashes on the spot, Lu Yuan said softly as he looked at the purple bead above the circular door in midair. That's right. The Golden Crocodile said. According to my senses, this bead contains an extremely powerful destructive power. Even the great consecrator's power can't compare to it. Facing this bead, I have a familiar feeling as if I'm facing an angel statue. The angel statue that the Golden Crocodile was talking about was naturally the statue of the six-winged angel hidden in the angel temple in the depths of the consecration hall. The six-winged angel god's seat was inside. It seemed that Lu Yuan's guess was right. This hurdle in front of them was a restriction left behind by a god. Since it was left behind by a god, no one present could break it. Even if the Xianra Empire used all of its power, it wouldn't be able to break it. They could only follow the rules. Obuchi, when you and the little girl go in later, you have to be careful. I suspect that these ruins might have something to do with a god. I just don't know what god it is, but it's definitely very dangerous inside, so you have to take care of yourself, the Golden Crocodile said. Originally, the Golden Crocodile only thought that there might be something strange about these ruins, but he wasn't too worried. However, the power that the bead contained made the Golden Crocodile understand that it might have something to do with a supreme god. As such, the importance of these ruins increased greatly in the Golden Crocodile's heart. There were definitely extraordinary things in the ruins of a god, but it was also inevitable that there would be great danger. Danger and opportunity always coexisted. Hearing this, Lu Yuan nodded. For a god, especially one that was left behind by the goddess of life, one of the 5 supreme divine kings of the god realm, Lu Yuan wouldn't be complacent even if he was proud. Dai Tianfeng activated his hand seals and completely opened the door of the ruins before retracting his hand seals. Dai Tianfeng lived up to his name as a rank 94 titled Douluo. He was actually able to conceal and reopen the ruins that had originally appeared. Of course, it was limited to this. If Dai Tianfeng wanted to take a step further, or if he wanted to enter the ruins to take a look, it was absolutely impossible. As long as he entered, he would definitely be crushed and turned into ashes. Young soul masters, you may enter now. Dai Tianfeng's voice rang out. I'll repeat myself one last time. Only soul cultivators under the age of 20 can enter. If anyone tries to sneak in, they'll be reduced to ashes at the entrance. I'll kindly remind you that if you do this again, it'll have nothing to do with me." After Dai Tianfeng finished speaking, a pair of sharp and powerful eyes swept over all the soul masters present. The aura he exuded was vigorous and domineering. He truly lived up to his name as the Iron Emperor of the Star Luo Empire. "Enter now." As soon as Dai Tianfeng's voice fell, a golden-haired youth walked out from not far from Dai Tianfeng. It was Davis. Davis walked towards the door, one step at a time. The door shone brightly, and a flight of stairs was laid out from the door. Davis walked up the stairs step by step towards the circular door. At this moment, a black shadow darted through the crowd. It was a woman with a very impressive figure, but she wasn't the young girl Lu Yuan had seen earlier. She followed behind Davis as they walked towards the circular door. Following behind Davis, that person should be Zhu Zhuyun. Lu Yuan thought to himself. But this Zhu Zhuyun seems to be a little similar to the girl I saw earlier. Could that girl be Zhu Zhuqing from the original novel? Lu Yuan thought to himself. But it's very possible. The original novel said that Zhu Zhuqing had a child's face and big boobs. It's quite fitting. This is too scary, isn't it? She seems to be much older than senior sister? As he spoke, he couldn't help but glance at Hulina beside him. "Junior brother, what are you looking at?" Hulina's voice sounded. She felt that Lu Yuan's gaze was somewhat unfriendly. "Nothing." Lu Yuan quickly withdrew his gaze. "This Hulina's senses are too sensitive." "Is that so?" Hulina frowned, feeling that something was wrong. But in the blink of an eye, she shook her head and said to Lu Yuan, "Junior brother, when are we going in?" "No hurry. It's useless to be anxious about this kind of relic." Lu Yuan smiled faintly, not feeling the slightest sense of urgency. If the relic of the goddess of life was so easy to break through, it would be a disgrace to her title as one of the 5 supreme gods. Davis walked forward step by step and finally reached the door. A purple light spilled from the bead, enveloping Davis in it. The purple light disappeared as quickly as it came. It swept past Davis's body and disappeared again. Seeing this, Davis stepped into the door and disappeared. Immediately afterward, Zhu Zhuyun also stepped into the door through the illumination of the purple light. Davis and Zhu Zhuyun both passed safely, and the atmosphere on the scene instantly heated up. Young soul masters from various forces rubbed their fists and rubbed their palms, ready to enter the relic and do a big job. Time passed slowly, and one by one, people passed the test and entered the door. Of course, there was also someone who didn't believe in heresy. He was annihilated on the spot by the destructive power of the bead, not even leaving behind a piece of bone. This person's miserable state caused the soul cultivators present to tremble in fear. Some people who were originally prepared to fish in troubled waters were frightened and put away their funny ideas. "Let's go. Senior sister." Lu Yuan took Hulina's hand and walked up the stairs step by step. Both of them were wearing masks, but their temperament couldn't be concealed by a mere mask. As long as one had some eyesight, one could tell that these two people were not simple. Dai Tianfeng looked at the two of them and his eyes flickered. These two are. Not far from Dai Tianfeng, Osfer heard Dai Tianfeng's words and said, "These are my martial soul palace's candidates. What advice does your majesty have?" "No, your palace is indeed full of talents. These two young people's temperaments are not ordinary, and their strength is not simple either." Dai Tianfeng squinted his eyes and smiled. Osfer didn't answer. He disapproved of Dai Tianfeng's words. "These two are the disciples of my martial soul palace's pope. Their strength and talent are top-notch. Compared to your useless son, aren't they much better? Do I need you to say that?" Of course, Osfer didn't say these words out loud. After all, he still had to give Dai Tianfeng some face. Lu Yuan and the others came in front of the door. The purple light diffused from the bead and enveloped Lu Yuan and Zhu Zhuyun. Under the illumination of the purple light, Lu Yuan only felt a huge heavenly might pressing down on his heart, and there was a sense of powerlessness that he couldn't resist. But suddenly, the god-slaying spear in his mind trembled slightly, and Lu Yuan recovered in an instant. Holding Hulina's hand, Lu Yuan stepped into the circular door. Chapter 105. A small world, a world that existed independently of the Douluo continent. Generally speaking, only an existence above rank 99 could create a small world, and the space was extremely unstable. If one wanted to create a small world that was stable and full of vitality, only a god could do it. And the goddess of life was the supreme god who controlled the power of life. Perhaps in the entire divine realm, there was no god who was better at creation than her. Coming out of the circular door, Lu Yuan saw a huge mountain range. Lush trees were everywhere. As expected of the goddess of life, even the world she created was so full of vitality. Lu Yuan took a deep breath and felt refreshed. Then, he habitually pinched his right hand, but it ended up pinching empty air. Lu Yuan was shocked and hurriedly turned around, but Hulina was no longer beside him. "Senior sister?" Lu Yuan cried out in surprise. Just now, they were clearly holding hands when they came in. How could they suddenly disappear? Lu Yuan's heart was a little hazy. Without him by her side, what if Hulina encountered some danger? Thinking of this, Lu Yuan was very anxious. "When I came in just now, I only felt darkness in front of me, and there seemed to be light flowing in the haziness. Now that I think about it, it should be the so-called teleportation array. It seems that senior sister and I should have been teleported to two different places." Forcefully suppressing the anxiety in his heart, Lu Yuan analyzed carefully. Since it was teleportation, senior sister must be in some corner of the small world now. Looking for her in this big small world is definitely like looking for a needle in a haystack. But there is a place that senior sister will definitely go to. Looking at the lush mountain range in the distance, Lu Yuan's expression was firm. No matter where they were teleported to in the small world, their final destination was the Temple of Life. This Temple of Life was at the center of the entire small world. This was not Lu Yuan's wild guess, but a feeling that arose spontaneously in his heart ever since he entered this small world. And regarding this feeling, Lu Yuan now believed very much that it could not be wrong. However, there will definitely be no lack of danger along the way. With senior sister's strength, you should be able to handle it. Lu Yuan secretly comforted himself. Hulina was also a top genius. Although she was only 14 years old, she had already reached level 38. With such strength, as long as she was careful, she should not encounter any danger. Now that Lu Yuan and Hulina were far apart, he couldn't help her. He could only pin his hopes on Hulina. Lu Yuan believed that Hulina wouldn't let him down. "Senior sister, be safe. I'll wait for you in the Temple of Life." Lu Yuan's expression was resolute as he began to walk towards the center of the small world. He hoped that when Hulina arrived at the Church of Life, she would be the first to see him. As he walked towards the lush forest, Lu Yuan held the world-shaking spear in his hand, and the clear Qi scripture in his body was circulating at all times. In this small world, although the current situation seemed very stable, Lu Yuan did not dare to be careless. Who knew what kind of danger would pop out at any time? Furthermore, Lu Yuan did not believe that there would be no soul beasts or the like in such a dense forest. The hidden dangers were definitely not to be underestimated. Lu Yuan's foot stepped on a withered branch. Under Lu Yuan's foot, the withered branch broke instantly. Whoosh! A black shadow scuttled past Lu Yuan's eyes. It was so fast that even Lu Yuan's eyesight didn't notice it. "What's that?" Lu Yuan's expression froze, and he held the world-shaking spear tighter in his hand. He seemed to have encountered some trouble not long after entering this small world. Lu Yuan was secretly vigilant, and his perception quickly spread out at this moment. Whoosh! Another black shadow swept past Lu Yuan's right, bringing with it a strong gust of wind. Lu Yuan couldn't help but furrow his brows slightly. Whoosh! The sound of the wind could be heard again. Lu Yuan quickly turned around, and a trace of light flashed past his eyes. This time, he saw it clearly. It was a black netherworld mink. There were flame-like patterns between its eyebrows, and its green eyes were filled with killing intent. A 2,000-year netherworld mink. Lu Yuan's heart was filled with fighting spirit. A 2,000-year soul beast was comparable to a human high-level soul elder. Netherworld minks are good at speed, but their physiques are on the weaker side. Lu Yuan's mind spun rapidly. After collecting almost all the books in the martial soul palace, Lu Yuan could recognize most of the soul beasts on the Douluo continent. The netherworld mink in front of him was naturally one of them. Gee! The netherworld mink's eyes flashed with a fierce light, and its sharp claws scratched towards Lu Yuan's neck. If this claw landed, it would definitely cut Lu Yuan's blood vessels. No matter how strong Lu Yuan's defense was, it would be useless. You're courting death. Vast Sea Universe. Lu Yuan immediately used the strongest move of the Vast Sea Spear art, the Vast Sea Universe. The world-shaking spear carried an enormous power as it pierced towards the netherworld mink. This move was very fast. Not only did it explode with the powerful physical strength of the Golden Dragon's bloodline, but it also borrowed the strength of the Phoenix Dance's 6 illusions. In an instant, its speed was extremely fast. Even the netherworld mink couldn't avoid it. Pah! The world-shaking spear carried the enormous strength of the Golden Dragon's bloodline and instantly sent the netherworld mink flying. It crashed into a tree in the distance, and the tree that needed a person to wrap their arms around it broke apart. Gee! The netherworld mink had a large hole in its body from the world-shaking spear. It struggled to get up and tried to escape. You want to run? Lu Yuan wielded his spear and became one with it. He thrust his right hand forward, and the world-shaking spear flew through the air and stabbed the netherworld mink's body into the ground. Lu Yuan took a few steps forward and pulled out his spear. The netherworld mink was already dead. Lu Yuan couldn't be blamed for being ruthless. This netherworld mink attacked Lu Yuan first, so Lu Yuan naturally wouldn't be merciful. Therefore, Lu Yuan didn't feel anything after killing the netherworld mink. The netherworld mink was considered a mid-tier soul beast. Its 2,000-year cultivation was comparable to an ordinary high-level soul elder. However, it wasn't enough to deal with Lu Yuan. Furthermore, Lu Yuan had used the Vast Sea Universe and the Phoenix Dance's 6 illusions from the Vast Sea Spear art to deal with it. It wasn't strange for him to kill it in one move. Lu Yuan didn't bother with the netherworld mink's corpse and continued walking forward. This time, he didn't encounter any danger. Occasionally, he would encounter a group of soul beasts, but Lu Yuan stealthily avoided them. 4 hours passed, and it was already noon. Lu Yuan took out some rations from his astral ring and leaned against a tree to gnaw on them. Suddenly, a layer of white mist appeared out of nowhere and shrouded the place where Lu Yuan was in an instant. Lu Yuan focused his eyes and put away the unfinished rations. He held the world-shaking spear in his hand again. He focused his eyes and seemed to see a figure slowly walking out from the depths of the white fog. Chapter 106. Lu Yuan tightened his grip on the peerless spear as he looked at the figure that seemed to be slowly walking towards him from the white fog. In this strange white fog, who knew what was coming? Was it a friend or a foe? He still needed to be more vigilant. Lu Yuan's eyes widened as his martial soul entered his body again. This vast white fog gave Lu Yuan a vague sense of danger. Staring closely at the figure that appeared in front of him, Lu Yuan prepared himself and was ready to attack at any time. The figure gradually became clearer. It was a beautiful figure. Long golden hair draped over her shoulders. 2 willowy eyebrows with a heroic spirit. Her skin was whiter than snow. Her angelic face carried a sense of holiness and nobility. Looking at the familiar figure in the golden dress, Lu Yuan's heart trembled. This was the figure that he had been thinking about day and night. Little Snow! Lu Yuan cried out in alarm and couldn't help but take 2 steps forward. Suddenly, his expression changed and he stopped in his tracks. When he saw Chihiro Snow's figure just now, he was pleasantly surprised. But after thinking about it, he already knew that Chihiro Snow was far away in Heaven Do. How could he appear here? Who are you? Lu Yuan's gaze turned sharp as he held his spear horizontally. How dare he transform into Little Snow's appearance to deceive him? He was simply courting death. One had to know that Little Snow was the deepest taboo in his heart. Anyone who touched her would die. Obuchi, I'm your Little Snow. Chihiro Snow said with a smile. Ha! Lu Yuan's mouth curved into a cold smile. He originally didn't believe that the person in front of him was Chihiro Snow. Now that Chihiro Snow spoke, it was completely exposed. My Little Snow? Lu Yuan muttered. Although I wanted to hear Little Snow say this sentence, with Little Snow's personality, she definitely won't say it. At least not now. You still want to lie to me? Lu Yuan clenched the amazing spear in his hand. No matter who the person in front of him was, he had dared to impersonate Chihiro Snow to deceive him. For Lu Yuan, he had already been sentenced to death. Obuchi, it's really Xiao Shui. I haven't seen you for a year. I miss you so much. Chihiro Snow said when he saw that Lu Yuan didn't believe him. Lu Yuan narrowed his eyes and didn't say anything. As the figure got closer and closer, the bloodline and soul power in his body circulated rapidly. As long as Lu Yuan made a move, he would be able to release a huge amount of power. Junior brother, be careful. That's not Chihiro Snow. Just as Lu Yuan was about to attack Chihiro Snow, Lu Yuan's clear voice entered Lu Yuan's ears. Senior sister? Lu Yuan turned his head and saw a girl in pink and white clothes standing there. She had short golden hair and a pair of seductive eyes. Who else could it be but Hulina? Senior sister, why are you here? Lu Yuan couldn't help but take 2 steps closer to Hulina when he saw her. He was still worried about Hulina's safety, but he didn't expect to see her now. Junior brother, I've been looking for you. Did you know? I've been looking for you ever since we were separated. Fortunately, I've finally found you. Hulina looked at Lu Yuan with love in her eyes. Lu Yuan was touched when he heard this. He subconsciously walked towards Hulina. Right now, he just wanted to hug Hulina tightly in his arms. Senior sister. Lu Yuan called out softly. Junior brother. Hulina opened her arms towards Lu Yuan with a smile in her eyes. Lu Yuan quickened his footstep. Suddenly, Lu Yuan's body froze. The clear qi scripture in his body had automatically alerted him. Looking at Hulina, who was smiling sweetly in front of him, Lu Yuan vaguely felt that something was wrong. Earlier, he hadn't thought about it. Lu Yuan had seen through Chihiro Snow because he knew that Chihiro Snow was far away in Heaven Do. However, Hulina had entered the ruins with Lu Yuan, so Lu Yuan hadn't suspected Hulina's identity. But now that he thought about it, it seemed that the timing of Hulina's appearance was a bit too coincidental. Senior sister, how did you get here? Lu Yuan asked in a seemingly unintentional manner. Hulina said, ever since I entered that door, I found myself transported to a place I didn't recognize. You weren't by my side, so I could only search for you. After a long time, I finally found you. Hulina looked at Lu Yuan with a trace of excitement. Is that so? Lu Yuan nodded, but the doubt in his eyes deepened. Was it really that coincidental? Then why did you say that Xiao Shui was a fake? Lu Yuan suddenly asked. I met her just now. She wanted to trick me, but I found out. Junior brother, you have to be careful. She's a soul beast in disguise. She was pretending to be you to trick me. I almost fell for it, Hulina said. Is that so? Lu Yuan asked. Yes. Hulina nodded. Obuchi, don't be fooled by this woman. She's a fake. She wants to kill us. After hearing Hulina's words, Chihiro Snow hurriedly said, Is that so? Lu Yuan looked at Chihiro Snow and said, You know, your acting is too clumsy. Xiao Shui isn't even in these ruins, and you still want to trick me? You're thinking too much. You already knew? Chihiro Snow's face darkened. Of course. Surrender. Lu Yuan picked up the world-shaking spear, his eyes filled with killing intent. Don't even think about it. If you want to catch me, we'll see how strong you are. Die. As he spoke, he attacked Hulina. Hulina's 3 soul rings, yellow and purple, shone as the two of them fought. This fake Chihiro Snow was quite strong. Hulina was at a disadvantage not long after they fought. Bang! The fake Chihiro Snow's palm landed on Hulina's body, and Hulina's body was sent flying. She spat out a trace of blood. Senior sister. Lu Yuan used his Phoenix Dance's 6 illusions and caught Hulina. Are you okay? I'm fine. Hulina shook her head and said, But I'm afraid I can't help you now. There was a hint of regret in her voice. It's fine. Leave it to me. Lu Yuan helped Hulina sit down. He turned to face Chihiro Snow and gripped the world-shaking spear tightly in his right hand. Okay, junior brother. Hulina agreed. Looking at Lu Yuan's back, her jade-like fingernails slowly extended, forming a white fox claw. Her eyes shone with a trace of ferocity, and the fox claw directly grabbed at Lu Yuan's back. Poochie! This was the sound of the spear tip piercing through the heart. Lu Yuan's expression was indifferent. The world-shaking spear in his hand fiercely pierced through Hulina's left chest. You! Hulina spat out a mouthful of blood and looked at Lu Yuan in disbelief. Looking at Hulina in front of him, Lu Yuan said indifferently with a cold smile on his face, I was almost fooled by you. Your performance was quite interesting. Don't you think so, Dream Demon Fox? Chapter 107. How did you know that? The Hulina in front of him was spitting out blood, her eyes filled with doubt and confusion, and of course, deep resentment. Dream Demon Fox, you're good at illusions and confusing others. You have the ability to create an illusory space with other people's consciousness. If I'm not wrong, this so-called white fog is an illusion you created. Little Snow, including the you in front of me, are all illusions you created based on my own consciousness. Lu Yuan pointed at Chihiro Snow, and sure enough, Chihiro Snow had already disappeared. You're very smart. You deliberately created Little Snow to see me, not to trick me, but to let me see through it. Then you used the image of a senior sister to expose Little Snow's deception, making me believe you without a doubt. Then you lured Little Snow to fight with you, and then you deliberately acted like you were no match for her, baiting me, and then you attacked from behind. Lu Yuan clicked his tongue. To be able to think of such a method, Dream Demon Fox, your cultivation is not low. I'm afraid you have at least 10,000 years of cultivation. How in the world did you see through it? Even a 10,000-year soul beast would die without a doubt if its heart was pierced by the world-shock spear. Actually, it was quite lucky. At first, I didn't notice that the senior sister you were impersonating was fake, but my cultivation technique is a bit special. It allows me to have a similar ability to sense danger. I'm sorry, but just now I felt a very strong sense of danger coming from your body. Although it was faint, it was extremely fatal. Naturally, this alerted me. And with vigilance, coupled with the matter of a soul beast impersonating you said, it wasn't difficult for me to see through it. Lu Yuan laughed. There aren't many soul beasts that can impersonate others. Coupled with this special illusion, it was really hard for me not to think of you, Dream Demon Fox. I didn't lose unjustly, but I can't accept it. If not for that so-called cultivation technique, you would have died by my hands. With your flesh and blood, I can definitely break through the 50,000-year barrier, and become the Dream Demon Fox King. I can't accept it, I can't accept it. The Dream Demon Fox cried out mournfully. 50,000 years? Doesn't that mean that your cultivation is 49,999 years? He's only one step away from becoming king in 50,000 years? Lu Yuan was secretly shocked. However, Lu Yuan still pulled out absolute terror. Blood splattered everywhere and the fantasy fox's aura quickly weakened and disappeared. The surrounding white fog also began to dissipate at a visible rate. The Hulina in front of him had already disappeared, leaving behind a 3-meter-long snow-white fox. It was the Dream Magic Fox, a 49,999-year-old fantasy fox. I'm so damn lucky. If this Dream Demonic Fox had really taken that step, then I'd be dead for sure. The Dream Demonic Fox could only use its mental power to charm or construct illusions to kill its enemies when it was less than 50,000 years old. Once it reached 50,000 years old, its physical body would be greatly strengthened. At that time, the Dream Demonic Fox would be able to kill Lu Yuan just by relying on its physical body. However, under 50,000 years old, the Dream Demonic Fox's physical attack power wasn't strong. Its strength was mainly in illusions. Its physical body was like a human's spiritual-type soul master, it was weak. It was because of this that Lu Yuan was able to use absolute terror to directly pierce through the Dream Demonic Fox's heart and kill it in one blow. If it were an ordinary 10,000-year soul beast, Lu Yuan might not be able to deal with it, because absolute terror might not be able to pierce through a 10,000-year soul beast's body. Soul beasts with weak physical bodies like the Dream Demonic Fox were in the minority. They belonged to the type that was severely biased. If the absolute terror directly pierced through the heart, even immortals would find it difficult to save them. Thinking about what happened just now, Lu Yuan felt a lingering fear. If not for the existence of the clear Qi scripture, Lu Yuan might have really been bewitched. This was because the Dream Demonic Fox had constructed a very realistic Hulina. Furthermore, the Dream Demonic Fox's mental power was much higher than Lu Yuan's. From the beginning to the end, Lu Yuan didn't realize when he fell into an illusion. This was a very frightening thing. A 49,999-year-old Dream Demonic Fox. Its mental power is comparable to some soul sages who specialize in mental power. If it wasn't careless, I'm afraid I would have died here. Lu Yuan sighed inwardly. If the Dream Demonic Fox didn't want to rely on pretending to be Hulina to deceive Lu Yuan, and directly used its own charm and illusions to kill Lu Yuan, then Lu Yuan might have been a corpse by now. However, there were no ifs in this world. In the end, Lu Yuan caught the Dream Demonic Fox off guard and completed an achievement that even soul sages would find difficult to accomplish. He single-handedly killed a 49,999-year-old Dream Demonic Fox. However, even if one's mental strength is strong, the weakness of one's physical body is still a problem. Take the Dream Magic Fox for example. Even if its cultivation is only one step away from reaching 50,000 years, so what? An ordinary spear could take its life. Thinking about the similar Hulina, Lu Yuan secretly decided that for Hulina's safety, he had to strengthen Hulina's body when he returned. I wonder if this Dream Demonic Fox with a cultivation close to 50,000 years can give me a pleasant surprise and drop some good stuff. Looking at the huge corpse of the Dream Demonic Fox in front of him and the black soul ring above it, Lu Yuan thought to himself. The Dream Demonic Fox's fur was very beautiful and was a good material for making fur coats, so Lu Yuan didn't waste it. When he used his sword to cut it, he also paid attention to not destroy the integrity of the fox's fur. As for what he was looking for when he used his sword to cut it, I believe that anyone who has seen a Douluo would know. After cutting off all 4 limbs, he still didn't find anything. However, Lu Yuan wasn't disappointed, because for a spiritual-type soul beast like this, if it dropped a soul bone, the chances of it dropping a skull would be relatively high. Furthermore, this dream demonic fox had too much unwillingness before it died, so the chances of it dropping a soul bone should be much higher. His sword cut open the dream demonic fox's head, and sure enough, there was a ball of colorful light shining inside. Lu Yuan was delighted, and he picked out the skull with his sword and caught it in his hand. This skull was relatively complete, and it was suffused with strong spiritual fluctuations. Under these fluctuations, even with Lu Yuan's mental power, he couldn't help but be a little dazed. The skills of this skull are clearly illusions and charm, so it's more suitable for senior sister. At the very least, it's more suitable for senior sister than the skull of wisdom that teacher took out in the original work. Furthermore, in terms of quality, this one isn't any worse than that one. Lu Yuan thought to himself. After storing the skull in his star ring, Lu Yuan prepared to give Hulina a pleasant surprise when they met again. As for the dream demonic fox's snow-white fur, he couldn't let it go either. This dream demonic fox's body was 3 meters long, and such a long fox's fur was enough to make several fur coats. When the time came, Xiao Shui, senior sister, and teacher would all have one. Wouldn't that be perfect? While thinking, Lu Yuan used his short sword to cut off the dream demonic fox's snow-white fur, and then stored it in his star ring. Chapter 108. The journey was arduous. This forest that seemed peaceful and full of life actually brought Lu Yuan a lot of trouble. Along the way, they encountered no less than a few waves of soul beasts. Fortunately, Lu Yuan was strong enough to kill these soul beasts one by one. Nightfall. Spending the night in the forest was definitely an extremely dangerous thing, especially when Lu Yuan was the only one left. Just the roars of the soul beasts in the forest at night made Lu Yuan have no choice but to be alert. Lu Yuan meditated to recover his mental and physical strength while using his spiritual perception. He didn't dare to relax at all. This forest was extremely large, and it would take a long time to pass through it. Thus, Lu Yuan had to ensure that he had enough physical strength. Fortunately, everything went smoothly. Even though the roars of the soul beasts were incessant, Lu Yuan still managed to pass through his first night in the forest peacefully. As the sun gradually rose, Lu Yuan opened his eyes. After washing up and eating some rations, Lu Yuan continued forward. The forest was too big. The sooner he got out, the sooner he could meet up with senior sister. She should be looking for him right now. Thinking of Hulina, Lu Yuan's lips curled into a smile. Holding the world-shaking spear, Lu Yuan continued forward. Roar! Accompanied by a tiger's roar, Lu Yuan's world-shaking spear pierced through the body of an explosive flame tiger. It was a 1,000-year explosive flame tiger. Lu Yuan withdrew his world-shaking spear without any fluctuations in his heart. This was already the 3rd time he had encountered a 1,000-year soul beast today. Of course, in front of Lu Yuan's powerful strength, they were all killed one by one. Lu Yuan habitually cut the explosive flame tiger's body. It was obvious that a 1,000-year explosive flame tiger wouldn't have something as good as a soul bone. However, Lu Yuan wasn't disappointed as he had already prepared himself. He cut up some fresh tiger meat and stored it in his astral ring after processing it. He didn't bring much rations with him, and he had a huge appetite. If this continued, he would run out sooner or later. As for why he didn't bring more, it was because the soul beast meat couldn't be stored for long and would go bad. Therefore, Lu Yuan only brought enough for a few meals at most. Lu Yuan wouldn't eat spoiled meat. Therefore, he decided to eat the meat of these soul beasts first. As for the rations, they were specially made and had a long shelf life. Lu Yuan regretted that he didn't know any ice-type abilities. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had to worry about those soul beasts going bad if he brought too many of them. All he had to do was freeze them. That way, he wouldn't have to worry about food. Noon. Unknowingly, Lu Yuan had walked for a few more hours. It was already noon. Lu Yuan found a relatively spacious area, lit a bonfire, and began to roast the explosive flame tiger meat. It was forbidden to light a bonfire in the forest at night because it would attract the attention of many soul beasts. However, during the day, due to the strong sunlight, it wouldn't have much of an effect. Furthermore, the explosive flame tiger meat had traces of fresh blood, so it was best to roast it. Eating raw meat was something Lu Yuan didn't have the habit of doing. Lu Yuan was a good cook and liked to bring some seasonings with him. Lu Yuan had salt, basil, and honey in his astral ring. Under the roasting of the fire, the explosive flame tiger meat gradually shrank and drops of golden fat slowly dripped from the meat. Lu Yuan methodically sprinkled seasonings and smeared honey on the meat. Each piece of meat was golden in color and emitted a rich meaty aroma. The meat that Lu Yuan cut was very large and long. When skewered on the washed willow branches, it glowed with oil and looked very appetizing. He roasted a total of 3 skewers, which seemed to weigh about 5 kilograms. Lu Yuan realized that his appetite seemed to be getting bigger and bigger. Furthermore, the explosive flame tiger was a 1,000-year soul beast, so its meat was extremely good for Lu Yuan's body. At least it was nutritious enough. The flames gradually extinguished, leaving only some red charcoal. Lu Yuan picked up a skewer of barbecued meat and sniffed it. A rich aroma entered his nostrils, and Lu Yuan could not help but nod in satisfaction. It seemed that his culinary skills were still as excellent as before. Lu Yuan picked up a skewer and was about to bite into it when a figure suddenly barged into Lu Yuan's line of sight. It was a girl wearing a black leather jacket. Her figure was outstanding, but her small jade-like face was filled with coldness. Her pitch-black eyes were also filled with bone-chilling coldness. It was Zhu Zhuqing, whom Lu Yuan had seen before. However, her current state was not good. There were 2 obvious wounds on her arms that were bleeding profusely. There was also a wound on her lower abdomen. Her jade-like face was pale and she swayed as she ran. It seemed that even her soul power had reached its limit. Behind her, there was a mosquito the size of a millstone chasing after her. This mosquito had 2 pairs of blood-red wings, and each pair of wings was densely covered with golden patterns. This was a top-notch hunting-type soul beast on the same level as the man-faced demon spider, the blood-winged golden mosquito. The mosquito chasing Zhu Zhuqing was clearly a 1,000-year soul beast. It was no wonder that Zhu Zhuqing was so heavily injured. Lu Yuan saw Zhu Zhuqing, and Zhu Zhuqing naturally saw Lu Yuan as well. A trace of pleasant surprise flashed in Zhu Zhuqing's eyes, but it instantly dimmed. There was a struggle in her eyes. She actually turned to the right and staggered away. Lu Yuan was shocked. When he saw the pleasant surprise in Zhu Zhuqing's eyes, he thought that Zhu Zhuqing would run towards him and lure the blood-winged golden mosquito over. Then, she would let him fight with the blood-winged golden mosquito while she withdrew herself. In the end, he didn't expect her to turn around and run away. Lu Yuan couldn't help but feel surprised. He didn't expect this ice-cold girl to have a kind heart. Lu Yuan smiled faintly. If Zhu Zhuqing had chosen to divert the disaster, then she definitely wouldn't have had a chance to live. This was because Lu Yuan hated it when people schemed against him. Moreover, Zhu Zhuqing was one of the original Shrek's 7 monsters. The current Lu Yuan didn't have a good impression of Shrek's 7 monsters. As for the 1,000-year blood-winged golden mosquito, Lu Yuan didn't put it in his eyes. He could easily kill it. However, Zhu Zhuqing's choice now made Lu Yuan's heart tremble. It touched Lu Yuan's soft spot. She was such a beautiful girl, and she was also very kind. Lu Yuan couldn't just watch such a beautiful girl die in front of him. Holding the astonishing spear, Lu Yuan's figure disappeared like the wind. Zhu Zhuqing was seriously injured, and her soul power was exhausted. She couldn't even use her martial soul possession, so how could she escape the blood-winged golden mosquito's pursuit? Zhu Zhuqing staggered and fell forward. The blood-winged golden mosquito behind her stabbed its sharp mouthpart towards Zhu Zhuqing's body. Zhu Zhuqing closed her eyes in despair. Her fiancé had run away from home and abandoned her. Her future was already bleak. Today, she was going to die in the hands of a mosquito. 2 lines of tears flowed from the corners of Zhu Zhuqing's eyes. She said to herself, "Perhaps this is my destiny." You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.